They acknowledge the steward culture of land, the land of state and the occupies. We acknowledge the original and current differences, the longest, the promise to live and the nations of peoples. Doing roll call. Ellis.
Here.
Thomas. As absent excused. Melody.
Has a final.
Absent excused. Yasmin. Absent. Excused. Francisco. Present. Leah. Nandana. Naomi.
Here.
Anastasia. Absent, excused. Azan. Absent, excused. Amanda.
Here.
Undal as a proxy, Rotimi is here. Maya. Who? Gary. Oh.
I motion to adopt temporary rules
We're
for
not in session, but not we're in public forum session. Brief announcements. Any member of the public can now speak. We have this period of time. You'll be given a minute, and it can be increased by any board of directors. Would anyone like to have any announcements made? Board.
Follows everyone.
Oh,
I just want to reiterate what posted on Slack, they will be working on the speak. So you can just find people.
At this moment, would any other member of the public like to address the board? Seeing none. All right, taking any motions.
I motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda. Seconded by Naomi. The motion by Francisco. Any objections? Those in favor, please raise your hand and say yay.
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 Did you vote?
Yay.
All right, seeing it is unanimous, agenda has been approved 7-0-0. Seeing we have no minutes to approve and there's nothing on the consent agenda, I'm going straight.
That better?
Bill 1.03.
I motion to adopt temporary rules for this board meeting outlined in the 2024 ASUW Board of Directors rules that I sent.
Second.
The temporary is the age, we're talking the board education file,
Yeah.
the motion to adopt which parts.
All of it?
The document in its entirety.
Yeah.
Okay, Francisco has motion to adopt the board of directors rules in the page, board etiquette.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something that we looked at last week.
In the motion? Yes.
Entirely there.
No, that's why I said specifically for this board meeting.
You're suggesting that voting members of the board should not have proxy absence, which is outlined in the constitution.
Yeah.
Absolutely correct, but non-voting and ex officio members of the board shall proxy if they're absent. This is something that's not outlined in the constitution.
That requires up to interpretation.
Right, it's up to.
And that's why you have the rules. We can amend that if you want.
If you would like to amend any of these rules, please take your time to look through it. Just send it to the workshop.
And also, we already have proxies, so for non-voting members.
Which is.
Can you outline like the major changes that they're doing with this, like what's how soon happening?
Well, it's right there.
I know,
It's one, just have a second for this, should we give them? Yeah, I agree. You didn't? No, we're in the middle of a vote. Yes, you raised the point before. Yeah, I motion to approve.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it was me.
Motion. There was a second, are there any objections? And then, if there's no objections, so we on a theater perspective that way. Yes, that's also correct. Yeah,
All right. Seeing that this is something that's
and
not
these are technically all rules that we've been.
again to all the other things that are kind of our interpretation of the constitution for PWs. Yeah, time to look through it, but if not, you are free to vote on it. If you get to a vote, all those in favor of adopting these temporary rules, please raise your hands and say yay.
Yay. Yeah, sorry, I went away as I had to change things. So it's.
All those against? All those abstaining? All right, motion passes 6-0 to 2. But yes, to so
There's only some of them, see that.
I mean to that.
Yeah, 5 of us voted yes, unless. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What?
I've seen
Naomi abstained. Yeah.
Yeah.
My God.
all right. I'm gonna keep this page. Okay, again, they're only valid for today only. Yes,
Yeah.
for this meeting, there it's everybody.
Yes, one of adopt them fully, then we can do that.
You know, so I would recommend doing some of these things. There are some people that are hurt.
Adopt them as bold, just like how the Senate has them.
Is and for state permissions. I mean, like never possible.
What, yeah, if they're,
And like if anyone can interpret it in any way, it's not only affects officials. Speaking. So there's no limitation about pulling. It should be put into
yeah,
in some sense.
we can have that as an amendment during this entire discussion. Oh,
So this was the end was I did raise early in the year because people have asked about boxing, this is something that is allowed. The Constitution allows boxing, the Constitution does not allow boxing, the bylaw does allow boxing. Chief bylaws allow that. But moving on to our agenda. We have board bill 1.0.
okay, yeah, so we just get into it. Other,
Naomi and then anybody.
Talk about just in the conversation earlier about the whole 20 school days,
okay,
because that's in the Constitution.
Point of information, as the person running Zoom, can you give page numbers so I know where to scroll for everyone? Thank you.
Um. 24 of the proposal constitution, but it's the exact same as it's in the regular constitution.
on the document itself.
I'm referring to rules in the actual constitution right now, yeah. Or like you can find this in here.
Actually, two. The document between two actual. Like page and footer.
Page,
Page 22 on the actual footer of page.
Page 24 on the actual document.
So the Constitutional Convention. It says proposed amendments to this constitution must be placed on the ballot adopted by 2/3 of the voting membership of the board of Directors. It translates to 60.
There's 7.
Nine voting.
No, but it's what doesn't.
No, the voting membership, not voting. That's six.
Okay, then
So six needs to six. Alright.
I'm referring to section 3, adoption of amendments.
Yeah.
Yeah, second sentence.
What?
On the proposal constitution, I was like,
Verifying the adoption. In no case may less than 28 school days elapse between proposal of such amendment and the election. We're interpreting this. What you bring up is what, how we're interpreting it?
no, I'm just saying, like, there's 19 days.
I know, but it's so like
You know what I'm saying, and again, I'm just trying to like, usually we're also following the constitution ourselves as being the board. It says in our current constitution that, like you can't have less than like 20 days, between like us passing this and the elections. And as of right now, it's 19 school days will pass until we get to voting. So I'm just bringing that up.
we can't pass like a proposal amendment within that 20-day period, but
Yes.
we're outside of that 20-day period. So we have more than 20 days, and so it's not within that 20 days.
No.
School.
Our interpretation has it.
Yeah, so I see the issue where, how I understand it. The Department of Education has to define school day, they even in partial taught instruction, there are Saturday classes.
But it really
Would be a long-standing assumption that teach do not hold classes on Saturdays, so school days is generally been considered to be Monday to Friday.
based on what you guys are saying, then this would even further amend the process.
No, I'm saying that like.
Because Saturdays count.
Saturdays can be
Sundays don't.
As to my knowledge,
Sundays don't, so it does extend for a period.
it's, yeah.
So, to the end.
But the interpretation of this particular section has been particular about what you were putting on the ballot for elections.
Right.
The membership of the association is not just you, it is 38,000 students on this campus. You have a certain amount of time by which something can be pasted on the ballot so that your membership knows it's on the ballot, start reading about it and learning about it.
So the way I'm interpreting it based off what Ray has saying so far, proposed amendments as passed by the board meeting today, the countdown starts today, not validating the EAC code, so it would be even further down the road, right? So as of today, we would need exactly 20 days minimum before it gets put onto the ballots.
No, you have till today to get it on the ballot. We're at that,
It says here,
because,
no
okay,
case last between the proposal of such amendment and the election. The proposal is today. The proposal is in our hands right now.
right, and so accounting for when you guys have board meetings, you're not holding a board meeting next week. So, and you usually are not holding board meetings during the finals week. So when they were reviewing the EPP, they went, okay, well, when is the last day that the board can meet to discuss referenda to get it on the ballot? So that we're within this constitution guideline. And so last Thursday was that day, and then you guys decided to have a special meeting today to finish up this referendum so that it can actually be placed on the ballot.
The reason why we had the meeting today was to be not the Constitution.
This is to be in compliance with the Constitution. The EPP follows the Constitution.
That's the case that would be made right now, saying we're not in the effect that the proposal is being submitted today because the last day we could submit it was today for the EPP. That's the reason that was given to us by Jacob Peter himself. He said the last day we could place it. Balance. And it's more.
Okay, yeah.
And once the proposals are submitted today, that's when the countdown start. Countdown will start today, and then in that case also, because it's asking for school days, and we'll just count Saturdays as school days. Then we don't count the whole entire of finals week as school days. That would further, I mean, based off of this, the registrar's dates of instruction,
You know, actually consider instruction days.
they don't.
It says on here about this. Well,
So because of that, that would probably take away an extra step. So we would need the date. Technically, we would do it in that, we would need that least of it. Because it's been. So the final date would have been what?
I don't know.
So April, when's the day of elections?
April 15th.
So coming back from the 15th and then not coming for any school day. How many days have it? Something like that. And we did some instruction also on the 95 website.
Maybe
Saying
18.
that we're doing this too.
18.
If you count. What, the 15th?
Yeah.
Would that count as a day?
The 15th is that what-
The 15th is the.
6, 6, 6. 6 times 3 is 18.
And as that line from the date of Can we get a period of recess to this, figure that out?
Question is,
Yes.
so are you proposing that we can't go through this constitution? Is that what you're trying to say?
We're outside of our minimum capacity. Like, I'm a friend of the Constitution, I'm not, I'm going away from forum, I know we have forums there. Yes. I understand that, I'm saying within our Constitution, we're outside of the 20-day minimum right now, that's. Yeah.
But it says, I guess the question is,
Again,
That's like not really how you interpret it, it just says, like you can't have less than 20 school days between posing it and the elections, there's.
but what counts as school days?
it is.
Hmm,
Motion to recess 5 minutes to go check the.
Take a recess.
Second. Yep. Yay.
Yeah. Actually,
Amanda says yay.
yeah.
Like, again, I'm trying to recall me.
Just write down what you think, you said it's perfectly by yourself.
What? No, it's not.
So right now, you figure out it's. Right, so count what it is. So these are all. Starts.
Last day's instruction was easy. Even if we lose Saturday. Yes.
Well,
We can't say Sunday was school.
I think I need to do the math. I think we're like 1920, we're right there. Very, so, right,
But on the text it says that this also doesn't count.
so we count the 15th, the day of the 15th? Okay.
Yes.
because then it'd be the 19th.
Oh, yes.
So that would be the Saturday prior, so it'd be like Saturday the 13th would be day number 1 for coming back.
Yeah, and so if you eliminate spring break, that puts you back on.
Go ahead. I'm getting great here, so.
Like, we can still make the changes and go through the constitution. before the-
Were you aware of this on Thursday's board meeting, or did you just find this out?
And this week, none of this week.
No, because it says the last day of instruction, but it also doesn't say it's a university holiday. It just says dates of instruction. It doesn't say school day. Well, that's implication. But those are not the same thing. It does not say dates of instruction. It says school days. So it's up to interpretation. It also has final examination week stating the last day. I love the law. It's so fun. Isn't this so great, guys? Supposed to be on break right now. This is such, I'm sorry. Why would you bring this up? This is such a waste of my time. This is so, ugh, whatever. How are you doing today, Rohini? I'm muting myself. I'm gonna yap too loud. I'm great. How do I
Okay, so special elections happen in what cases? Elections can we call a special election for any reason, which I'm assuming we can't do. Because in last year, there was a special amendment of the time, which further increased the end of the voting period. That was the case last year, and that was done by the board of directors in the case because there was a technological failure. But what are we basing this off of? What are the reasoning, and then what also, what is our abilities to call a special election for how do we define election?
I think that's a really strong argument that, well, I do understand your point, Jacob, about saying that days of instruction count as school days. We don't specifically say days of instruction in our constitution. We say school days, which per our state have a very different definition, again, only for that K through 12. I think the grounds upon the uncertainty of our constitution and the unclear definition are grounds to call a special election, because you could make a good faith argument on both sides that it is fair for the Constitutional Reform Task Force to have assumed that final examination dates count as school days, because again, it says school days, it doesn't say dates of instruction. And so because of that uncertainty, I think we should close up our language, define what is a school day, and then have that special election.
Operating now. That. But also that Sunday. So how are we gonna map on that? What time to make this?
Maybe 24.
That was the assumption they made that school days also count as spring break. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt, say if they have that assumption. Are they still?
Yeah, because if you're doing, yeah, sure, I can pull up the calendar. So assume we have this week. Yeah, so this is spring break. So this is 1, 2, and then the 15th is right about here. 3 plus, well, we'll say this is 6 minus 1. Well, regardless, it's 6. What? 6 times 24. 6 times 4 is 24, and you subtract Monday, Tuesday, that puts you at 22 days. You could even subtract this Saturday and say finals end on Friday, and it would give you 21 days. So you would, if we pass it today, you'd be okay.
So.
No, I would say we would end it at Friday this week. Yeah. Yeah, because it's just 3 times 6 plus 3, so it's 21. You can count, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4 if you really want, but that's the math. If you start on the 13th, it'd be 21. If you start today, it'd be 22. What holidays? The only spring holiday is Memorial Day. That's May 27th, so yes. You guys, it's 21. Okay.
Bye.
What? Memorial Day has no bearing on this. Guys, I'm telling you, it's good. Like, I've done the math.
Again, it's all. Counting part of the North County Senate.
All in agreement of that, or what?
Well, this is our discussion is whether or not we can assume that the EAC was sued. and whether or not this grounds. I think.
Well, we want,
Same time, I think that if we're assuming they can this week as well.
Is it a word from home too?
no, yeah, it's all not really.
So then we're also.
Well, in that
But
case,
you-
everyone who was
no.
marked unexcused, should be changed.
That we can't do that.
They haven't done some-
They're paid.
Again, my whole point with this, and I'm not against like the like us people make the constitution at all, I just think like it's just too rushed, like it's too last minute. To present it on like the last possible board meeting, which we could do, just kind of adds the bigger argument that like. These are huge changes to the constitution, and it's just,
Okay.
there's just not enough time.
It's awesome. Full quarter. As follows, the autumn quarter shall begin the last Wednesday in September and end on the twelfth Friday thereafter. The winter quarter shall begin on the first Monday of after January 1st and end on the 11th Friday thereafter. So what is the 11th Friday?
That's finals week.
Is it the 11th week?
Yeah.
after?
Yeah.
Was that technically?
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Third, first of all, Monday, the winter quarter shall begin on Wednesday, January 3rd. Basically, it's just saying that if the days permits, this holidays, so in the school will start seeing the first.
Okay, so per that, and if it goes to week 11, because we go week 10, week 11 is finals week, we have the prerequisite 20 days.
The 11th.
Yeah, because we have 11 weeks in a quarter.
So from January 1st to 11th Friday after. That's this Friday.
I can tell you, it should just say my UW.
And this year we started. January 3rd.
Yeah,
We started January 3rd. So that is 11 Sundays after January 3rd. We'll be trying 11 Fridays after January 3rd. Or 30, it's already been recorded this year, it's January 3rd.
It's the 15th?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good. Yes.
Fine.
so now.
That is when we can-
So
Yeah.
2 days. Then I'm just.
Guys.
going to take anything.
It's 6 times 3.
This is 7.
It's 21.
And we're 100% sure the fact that we let some Saturdays as school days,
Uh,
they don't.
like the Department of Education. It says a school day is any day where there's even a partial.
Right.
And the university restrictions on Saturday, however, I don't, they didn't feel like it used to be the case, so it's. You're,
This part of your constitution is written.
I mean, the Constitution is still. No, the Constitution is a issue, it's more of a should have it. By law with the freedom, it's 11 weeks, starting January 3rd. So these are all daily instruction. And then when it counts, it's free where it can. Okay, so assuming these grounds, is it above? Or below?
Did we count today or not? It's,
yeah, it's still 21
Again, we're
days.
still assuming that's.
yeah, we're within the 21 days. or 20 days, because it's 21 days,
Oh, yeah.
which the EPP included. They chose today as the last day. So they were, or tomorrow. So then they're in accordance. Yeah, so the APP did their research.
If we had passed it last week, it would be like fine.
I guess I'm, okay, I'm gonna motion to close debate, because technically we are in the middle of an objection. We were. Well, we were in an objection, so I'm gonna motion to close. Well, we kind of recessed in the middle of our objection. Can I motion to Gordian knot or whatever it is? No, I think. Okay, whatever. I move that we end discussion or just move on to whatever comes next, because I think, at least from my point of view, the EPP is correct. The 13th is the last day to submit it per the definition Jacob found in RCWs. I think that we are wasting time, and that if people have concerns about this constitution, now is the time that we've all set aside to hear them. To what? Well, okay.
Last day of instruction.
No, we're looking at the RCW, which takes precedence, so.
We hold it point to the university, but it's fine with me. So they're just sitting down, deciding what is it, when would you start this?
Like, I don't like wasting time either, because if it says on the constitution, you can do it, or outside of that.
Point of order, I think we're going in a loop right now. Ellis, you made a motion specifically, can you repeat what that was?
Motion to move on. No, motion to close debate if you. Okay, we haven't approved the agenda.
The motion, if we had no pressing other motion based on the minutes that we have already been made.
She didn't object, maybe about it was for good. That was before.
I motion to Gordian knot and just clear all motions.
Point of parliamentary inquiry. Yielding my time to Ellis.
Thank you. Okay, I first motioned. I would, because I first.
Like to give you time, but in a board meeting.
I initially motioned to Gordian knot, which would have undone all motions. You're being facetious. I think we need to move on. I think, conduct. I don't. I motion to suspend the rules and close debate.
So. Vote on the place to take the rules and any dates. Actually, don't need to suspend the rules. Okay.
Point of personal privilege, I can't hear you. Can you repeat that motion? Was that seconded?
The rules that you- There was a motion to suspend the rules. In debate, but we're not in the middle of the or debate.
I still can't quite hear that.
Okay, I'm gonna withdraw my motion and ask that. Okay,
What was your vote? Amanda?
I couldn't hear what the motion was. Can I ask if the mic on the ceiling is on? Because I hear Ellis the most clearly, and then Jacob is kind of in and out at times.
Is this better?
Oh,
Kind of
better?
not.
Yes.
how's this?
I can hear Ellis. Can you repeat the motion that is, I think someone seconded, but I'm not sure what the motion was.
Yeah, we had a motion to suspend the rules,
Okay.
which we had no debate first.
I don't think that's the Gordian knot thing, okay?
Yeah, I
Go
kept
on,
trying.
just-
You're not being helpful to the conduct of this meeting. Can we please move
Yeah,
on?
we
We are
voted-
wasting time.
Yeah, I'm just. in-
Just
in
do the
accordance
vote
with
again, just do
policy,
the vote again.
The votes is, Amanda, what was your votes?
Can you repeat the motion? So you suspend the
Basically,
rules and
Yeah, so, Ellis motioned to suspend the rules, in order to end debates. It was seconded by Francisco. We were in the middle of votes. I was asking what your vote was.
okay, I would be for the motion.
Okay, all those against? All those abstaining? Can we make this process more efficient? Can we go to the amendments all in order? I just, in my opinion, I mean, if we go to the ones that matter to us the most personally or in your own personal context, that's okay, but in my suggestion, I think that going in order might make the most sense. In order just, once we pass it, we passed it, and that's, we can just go. Yes, Rainey.
Two things. One, I made a couple of like grammatical suggestions to the original board bill. Take a look through them. I think they should just be accepted because they're just grammatical. Two, if we're gonna go through bit by bit, we could just do it like section wise.
Yeah, by
So
article.
similar to how we did in the Constitutional Support Task Force.
I'm catching this right, you made amendments to the bill,
The
I
board
just-
bill,
I just made suggestions that were grammatical.
on the bill itself.
They were just suggestions. They're not amended yet.
yeah, they're
Is
like.
is it
the
on the bill
suggestion-
itself?
Yes,
Yes.
we haven't approved anything, so
Right,
move on.
yeah, let's, for reference for the next time, let's all make motions, or if they're grammatical, let's make sure that the sponsor of the bill is aware of those changes
He has informed me.
beforehand. Let's just keep that the precedent. That was the precedent before, we're gonna keep that going forward.
Why don't we go by each article?
Thank you, Francisco. Let's start from the top.
So, okay, the university approval of the Constitution, that hasn't changed. The preamble hasn't changed, the name hasn't changed, articles and regulations taking precedence hasn't changed, the mission hasn't changed, membership hasn't changed, ACW bylaws hasn't changed, and there we get to the management control in which we explain the difference between government and the civil service, which make up.
So we're going to straight to Article 6.
Yes,
Article 6 starts with what page?
the second one on the document itself, and we're gonna continue with the document itself via page numbers.
We make.
So
grammatical changes.
it's on page 2.
Yes,
Page 2, Article 6, Management and Control.
yes.
Starting from section 1, let's begin. Go ahead, and this is now open to amendments, comments, questions. I'll let the sponsor of the bill speak.
Yeah, it just delineates the management and control of the ASUW, and because we've created the government and the civil service, and the management control in the previous one was just a general organizational like statement about the ACW as a whole, but then I incorporated the article into government and the civil service and how to explain it here, so.
Which page of it is it?
The second.
No, this page. Is it-
Oh,
This page?
yeah, I suppose so.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
like,
fine. I was like a visual. It's a good visual.
yeah, it's all discussing all three branches of all six branches of the.
Okay,
of the
who's
ACW.
first? Naomi, go on.
For the civil service, wasn't it called the auditorial branch? Why did it get changed to the administrative branch?
I think that was a name change we had originally because we had auditory, which was like hearing rather than like auditing, so that's why we had auditorial. But then before we came up with auditorial, we had administrative, and so I suppose it should be
When did that get changed?
Okay.
within the committee.
Real quick,
within
I'm gonna
the-
just emphasize again, going forward, we're gonna make amendments to bills in front of the board since they've already been submitted to the board. We cannot make discussions or decisions and add things or change things without the general oversight of the board since it already was submitted to us. But since we're going now through it in order, we see these things, but for future reference, for everyone involved here, we cannot make amendments to bills once we are out of session. You asked about the civil service, it got changed to auditorial.
Yeah, within the
Francisco said that the auditorial was a grammatical mistake, that was friendly to himself, it was a honest mistake, we're gonna move forward. So are you motioning that we change the auditorial back to what was it again?
Oh, I don't, I was just curious as to why it changed. I don't actually.
Yeah, no, that was like a typo within the task
So
force.
Francisco, that's friendly to you, would you want to change that to,
It is the auditorium. It wasn't supposed to be administrative.
gotcha. All right, Rohini,
Would you like to be changed to administrative?
No, that seems unnecessary.
Okay.
all right, going down this, the rest is, are we seeing everything that we agree with? Is there any comments, questions, concerns, or amendments? Naomi?
Well, I have general concerns with like the branches in these and just like the implication of them, but I don't know if the time to dive into that is now or when we actually get through like. Cause this is kind of like agreeing with everything that's in the Constitution and like what outlines it, so it's like, do you want us to talk all about this now or? When we get down to it?
I think if you have like specific comments or questions about each branch, we can dwell into it when we get to that article.
Okay.
So yeah, okay, I suppose we can move on. So Article 7, there's some changes, like we better define like what officers of the ACW are because it was just the board of directors for the most part that were declared officers of the ACW, and so we have a list of them. And yeah, that was it. The executive branch, and so yeah, we have changes here. We already did the vice speaker and having them voting under.
Is going back to kind of the section one, number two, if it's friendly to you, I mean, auditorial, I mean, are we look at the definition of auditorial? Auditorial seems like the definition of something else that I don't want you to have that misconstrued.
A person who conducts an audit. Auditorial is an adjective form of auditor. So it concerns auditing, which is what the auditorial branch is designed to do. And that's why we changed it from auditory, which was again hearing, and
Yeah.
it became auditorial, which is the.
Yeah, when I looked at the word auditorial, it just came out saying an audio editorial used by journalists to satirize a phrase, speech, or statement through an audio recording of the phrase. I didn't want that to be misconstrued. I'm not sure there's a better word to use for that.
Oh, yeah, that's Wikipedia.
Yeah.
What does Merriam-Webster say?
And then
Oxford Languages.
maybe
Merriam-Webster, adjective of or relating to an audit or an auditor of accounts. So it's befitting of the name.
you don't think it's gonna cause confusion. It's fine. Naomi, Nandana,
Are we still on Article 7?
we're
Eight.
we're now in Article 8.
So I just had a concern. I also put that in the comments.
Hmm.
So I don't know if this is exactly the article that addresses it. I think I saw in a couple places because there's overlap. But limiting board authority to only executive power and removing authority to approve judicial decisions in any sort of way, I personally think is taking away from the voice of the student body because the student body elected the board of directors to have final like choices in terms of decisions that ASUW makes. So I think that keeping the constitution the way it is, where the board does get the final vote, best reflects representation of student voices, because technically they were the only ones elected.
Rohini.
I do want to point out that with these changes, the judges in the judicial board specifically are also elected now. Correct me if I'm wrong, Francisco, again. But also, to reiterate, like, to reemphasize, the original board bill that created the task force that helped to create the proposal constitution was meant to help, decentralize power from board itself. And I believe that the more, students that we have that are directly involved, that can help make decisions into the ASUW, including these judges, the more democratic we are being as a whole, and that should be what we're striving for. Again, also, judges would be elected around the same time as board would be, so I don't see as much of an issue with that, especially with the rest of the changes that are made to the election process, and the new positions that are elected in general.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
should,
One second first.
so wait, do we talk about the elected judges when we get to their article, or can I talk about it?
Make concern that concerns the article 8, article 11.
Okay, forgive me for this like a dumb question, but so if we are approving 3 elect new positions, do we have to get like finance and budget recommendations or anything of that sort? Like, how do we know we have enough money for that?
Yeah, the involvement of Melody in the Finance and Budget Committee, I informed them of like the amount of positions we would be having, and like I gave them over the teams about the information of the new officers that would be paid, and so based on her information, she didn't have like any um concerns about that.
That's, can I say something?
No, Rohini and then Leah.
Again, I think also, isn't the proposal constitution only gonna go into effect not next year, but the year after? So that would also give some leeway time for next year's administration to make changes to ACW, the bylaws as needed, including if it comes like finance.
Leah.
My comment is if you're introducing my 3 positions, right? Is it 3? I would say that's about what, like $30,000 being taken out of ASUW. And like just from like the recommendation, or like I guess like since Melody did give us a presentation last week during board with like the whole budget breakdown and everything, she did kind of explain that ASUW is leading into a deficit kind of, and like by introducing 3 new positions, $30,000 up, it's like looking like it's gonna be around that range. I can't say for sure, but all I'm gonna say is that with that, I think that should be taken into account into like the 3 new positions, just because that was something that she did mention, and she said that she doesn't think that ASUW is like it's gonna be feasible for ASUW, and also like given the recommendations that she said that she should like advise like next year's board to like put like other ASUW entities under like examination or under review, because like again, like is it necessary for us to have like all of these components of ASUW like and not have them like, I mean, and it affecting our budget dramatically, especially when they're not like necessarily, I don't want to say needed, but if they're not like using, I guess like if it's not needed to like spend that money. So like the 3 positions, like that's just kind of, I don't know if what I'm saying is making sense, but.
Edwin, Naomi, Francisco.
Yeah, like overall, I think you have a good point in which like the chair of the judicial should be paid, since I talked to Francisco about this earlier, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but you mentioned how like they take over at a certain point and they're unpaid, and so that was your reasoning for adding in these higher positions. I think that's a change we should consider, but restructuring it all, so now that we have 3 elected judges and 2 appointed, one, you can't pay only the elected and the unappointed judges. Like two, this adds 3 more positions. It's adding a lot of just extra time and like money into these roles when I don't think is really like but our focus as ASUW as a whole should be right now. Like there's not necessarily a need to change the entire structure of judicial for like elected judges per se. Like I don't think that's how we should best spend our time, because also we can't only pay like half the judges and not the rest of them.
Yeah, no.
And like, yeah.
Yeah, I was not proposing that we only pay the higher, not high, the elected judges and the appointed judges. They would both be paid, all 5 of them, because I think the current composition of the judicial committee is 4 at-large student representatives who don't get paid for their work, and like they work diligently in the committee. And I do think that every student has the right to be paid for the work they do, and that should not be a detriment to the positions we create. And so we should worry about, this is the optimist part of me, but we shouldn't be too worried about the economics or the finances of it if we believe that every student should be paid for the work they do. And so I think that the judges should be paid. I think if they're going to be given responsibility, the amount of which they are now, then they should be compensated for their work. And we're in the end, we have 4 at-larges, and we're just adding a 5th, and both the elected and the appointed judges should both be paid for their work.
Okay, getting into semantics now in terms of, I see a comment from Jacob Gannon talking about where the numbers came from about the additional $30,000 that would increase the positions, considering that the current judicial in the amount of time that they spend currently is roughly what, 3,500 it says? It says the estimate is 3,500 for 3 judges, it says?
3,500, 5,000 for 3 judges. I'm assuming 5,500 for 5 judges.
Right, and so this is again all assumptions, and they were never recommended by the finance budget director themselves. So there can be arguments made from both sides. I do believe that every student that works should be paid. It's also a sentiment held last year about interns being paid as well, and there was investigation on that. But that's ultimately up to finance budget to discuss and recommend. We're gonna go back to the order we went from, so that's gonna go to Rohini, Naomi, and then Alice.
Okay, first off, this is actually a discussion that I believe we also had in constitutional reform, specifically with the hours that the new positions that would be added would take. The judges were actually on the lower side of things. Francisco, I don't know if you still have the information for that, but if you have those estimates, that would be great. But I do want to point out also, this is kind of getting very much into semantics, and I do want to say, we should be focusing on the positions themselves. The details based off of like the current finance of ASUW should be focused more for next year, assuming the proposal constitution gets accepted by the student body rather than right now. Because those are minor details that will be given for an entire year for next year's administration to take over with. So the focus should be on the idea of having the judges or not, rather than just like the financials behind it, which the task force is already considering.
Okay, I see your points, and I'm gonna give my thoughts on that in the case that this is not gonna be affecting the next year, it's gonna be affecting the next year. But given that we also ask all the task forces to include the finance and budget and personnel into these conversations, and given that a lot of task forces have had struggles, given they weren't able to explain their financial situation properly, we're also operating the assumption that the finance and budget is approving of this. Because the task force did include the finance and budget. They're not here to explain it today themselves. We cannot assume what their job entails, what they're gonna recommend, and whether or not the future board themselves are gonna be able to maintain this without that recommendation set right now. That's my concern. But let me go back to the order. That was Naomi and then Ellis.
Another comment too is like, why are we paying the now like judicial committee, but not like people on other committees like personnel, and like even like auditorial like
We
right
are.
now?
Like, that's the plan.
Yeah. I'm just finished speaking.
Sorry.
This also makes it too, like, as of right now, the Senate liaison's a voting member. I'm correct on that? Are they not like a voting member now on the new judicial committee? And like, if so, like, do they get paid? Like, they're doing the same work, being judges on these committees? Like, I think it kind of opens up just like a weird, like, little loophole where like, if we're appointing judges to serve on this committee, why are like they paid but not like the Senate liaisons? Like, when they're doing essentially the same work.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to what I said previously, and like I said, we really don't know. We can't say with any kind of certainty about any kind of finances at all. Considering that the precedent for every single task force is that they include the finance and budget and personnel to give these recommendations, to also justify why these things are being put in there, and to give the recommendation on to what they would cost and what that future would look like. Melody has basically charted out what the next 3 years would look like in her position, and what the ASUW's finances would look like, and I think that we need to give that same consideration as well. Alice?
Can we start making motions? We have 37 minutes in this meeting, and while I appreciate everyone's willingness and ability to comment, and I do agree, Francisco, I understand the goal of the judicial committee, but I think as someone who sits on the finance and budget committee, my concern would be the long-term fiscal cost without consulting like next year. I think that you can, I don't know, I think there's ways forward, but I also think that in the interest of time and so that we can get to everyone's thing is that we start making comments with motions to change instead of just feedback. I think the stage for feedback is over. It's like, if you want something changed, make that change because that's what we need to get done here.
Um. I have a question, but I'll save it for later, actually. It went, Ellis, and then, okay, Francisco.
I will say that unlike the creation or elimination of a commission or an enterprise, task forces are not largely bound to do a finance and budget report, and that was possibly largely an oversight in my case, but I will say that. And although I do believe in the goal of paying for all students' work, and if we aren't able to do that based on the future budget, then that is an understandable concern. And you can motion to revert back to the original judicial committee or any other form, because that's what I wanted in the first place, to have actual language prepared for this meeting.
Okay. I mean, we're still open for any kind of motions. I mean, this period is just discussion, but anyone can make motions, comments, concerns at any one point in time. So, Rohini?
Going back to what I said earlier, Francisco, I know we talked about this in not judicial, constitutional form, specifically the information about like the number of added positions to the
Yes.
Constitution. Can you speak a little bit more about that?
So, in my constitutional notes, we say the newly paid positions, we have 5 judicial, 5 personnel, 4 auditors, which means that's 14 new paid positions, and the Seattle minimum wage is 19.97 cents. And largely there'll be 3 hours of work per week, so that's for roughly 30 weeks, so that's 90 total hours of week per new employee, so that's $19.97 times 90, which is $1,797.30 for a total of, for a single new employee, which multiplied that by 14, that's $25,162.20 for all new employees, but that doesn't include any benefits or something like that.
So right now, out of your own recommendations is that these people be paid this much in this many hours, and these are all just consensus based off the task force members?
Yes.
Okay, and then we didn't include any kind of benefits. So I mean, I do appreciate the foresight into that. But these are conversations that personnel and finance would be having and recommending to the task force and to the board of directors. But we're gonna go back, Naomi.
Yeah, like this, and I do want to compromise on this. I'm not trying to like strike all of your work. I know you put a lot of time into it. The issue you brought up earlier, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said like there's positions on like you chair it for half the year and then it switches. You mentioned something being unpaid when it should have been paid. So could we keep like one chief justice that's like goes through elections, and then they're the ones who chair the committee the entire year. Because you got rid of yourself as chair and added a chief justice, I'm okay with keeping just that role on it as like the chair and person in charge of judicial. That way it is separate from board. So you mentioned conflict of interest there too. Would you be open to compromising on that? Because I think even changing it so like there's no longer like a Senate liaison, like as like a voting member, like I think the original judicial committee, it just makes the most sense in terms of that. And also there, we haven't done the appropriate like finance and budget and like personnel things. I'm not comfortable passing this today and having this long of like an impact on ASUW. I'll let you.
Francisco and then Glorini.
That would work, if like we make that position. And that brings up the question, do we want them to like be elected as well, or through the appointment process that we made out, or through the open selection process, but you can make that motion and then we can debate on it.
Would you prefer?
Oh, okay, if we, okay, so if we start from the baseline and we have the four at-larges, the Senate liaison, then me, we eliminate me, then we have, and change that with like a chief justice or whatever, or the chief judge in this instance, then we have 5 again.
Because you got rid of yourself as chair.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's kind of what I'm.
And then I can, then again, I will act as like the board liaison to the judicial committee, oh, I mean,
Yeah.
the dip.
Can we make that motion?
Yeah.
Can we actually put this right up into writing so we can actually see visually what's being changed?
So give me a
in
page.
the relevant
Yeah, but
section?
the judicial committee, we're at
12.
executive.
So I mean, since it's relevant to Article 8, let's go to the section that is relevant to it and then work our way and then go back to the order we're on to. So
Article 10,
this would
page
affect
12.
page 12. Page 12, the actual documents. Page 12, what section is this? Article 10, section, sorry, what
Section 2,
Section 2, and it is A?
yes.
Okay, so this would affect A. So what are you motioning?
I don't have like exact language, but like revert it back to like the original committee with the addition of elected judicial judge as the chair.
Wait,
The exact wording, I don't like have. all of it.
Okay,
I can find.
Francisco, you want to make?
I can make the language because
Okay.
then if it's gonna be 5, then that would be delineated, then we can delineate the position of chief justice. There, so
You didn't make a motion, right?
no,
So
Will that judge still be in office for 2 years?
well, yeah, because that's how it works now.
What if they graduate?
Well, then, oh, no, then we'll have to rehire that position.
Retire, isn't it elected?
Are we keeping all of, like, who, like,
Do you want
the
that?
chief justice?
Yes, wasn't that your intention to have them elected? Like, what was the intention behind that? And I'm trying to compromise.
Yeah,
on that,
no,
like-
no, like, I want at least, I do agree that the people who are elected by, like, elected officials are definitely more accountable to people than in like any group. So that's why I'm for elected officials, so we can have at least the chief justice be an elected official, and that again brings up the conversation of pay that was.
Yeah, cause I'm like within like just adding one role, that's not that big of a deal in terms of pay. Like I know it's not ideal, but again, I am willing to compromise on that. And like, so just to clarify, like their focus in ASUW will be completely just on the judicial committee. That's like the issue right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
that's why we need language, see everything, if we affect one thing, then everything changes.
I can estimate we're gonna go past 8 o'clock now.
Exactly, so that's why I wanted language, like, that was my comment. Okay, so if we have, okay, revert back to 5, and then one of them, the chief justice.
question.
Yes.
Do you guys have language prepared for future motions and changes you want to see made?
I mean, we're trying to make compromises right now.
Well, then if
Like,
you-
my original motion was just to revert it back to the original one.
Yeah, I'm saying for the other things, like, is that ready to go?
So I don't know how exactly we can come up with language, because like one change in one article has so many effects across the Constitution. So I don't really know how exactly, like, I'm not aware of how I would frame that amendment.
Also, I think that, I guess the question that Alice is asking is, you all know which amendments or which sections you'd like to amend?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so can we put that out in writing or
It is on there.
what?
So all your comments are.
All the
okay.
comments.
It's been on there since last meeting.
Okay. Also, I do want to mention that, considering that this passes today, we want to clean this document up and ensure that it looks exactly precisely the way it does as passed. There's a lot of things that are, a lot of letters that we're seeing that are numbers that are not in order, I guess, for now, but they're still all in red, so, yeah. Non-motion.
Okay,
So once he's done typing, he's gonna make the
Okay.
motion. and then we go.
yeah, I motion to remove the 3 student members elected by the ACW membership
In what section?
in Article 10, Section 2A, clauses 1, 3 student members elected by the ACW membership. Clause A2, 2 student members selected through the appointment process, and replace them with the chief judge, who shall act as chair, and 4 student members. 4 student members, and delegating that also in Article 10, Section 2. Which would be C, that C clause would state, the chief judge shall be elected by the student body.
All right, motion, motion by Francisco to amend Article 10, Section 2, letter A, clauses 1 and 2 to look like the chief judge who shall act as chair, and 2, 4 student members, and then letter C, this chief judge shall be elected by a student body. We need first amendment.
Second.
Seconded by Ellis. Any objections? Seeing none. Oh wait, is that last line in red? The chief judge is responsible for administering the oath of office.
Oh, that was a separate
Previous.
thing, yeah.
Okay. All those in favor of amending Article 10, Section 2, letters A and C. Raise your hand and say yay.
Yay.
Amanda says yay.
Seeing it is unanimous, it has been approved. Good, good. Today. Moving on. Well, hold on, let's just make sure that they're all correct first before.
I
Uh,
have a motion that's relevant to this one.
okay. Is there a motion on Alice?
Yeah, I motion to strike Article 5, Section 2D. The voting members will decide amongst themselves who will serve as chief judge, because it directly contradicts the above part that the chief judge shall be elected by the student body.
So Article 5, you said?
That seems, I feel like by now, that's
Is
a-
it grammatical?
we can, since we have changed so many changes, we gotta just consider this.
I think it is grammatical because it's
Yeah.
continuity. So would you take that as grammatical, Francisco?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
well, first, we're still in the middle.
Well, I rescind my motion.
Well, there's no motion, we're still in the middle. Okay, my fault.
Wait, I motion to amend.
Motion to amend our article.
There it is.
And then I rescinded my motion because we decided that we were gonna take it as
Okay. Grammatical.
grammatical.
Gotcha.
And just,
Oh, then, okay, this part's also grammatical because we don't have elected or. members,
So
so,
which portion is that?
C. Oh, see, things are messed up, that's really annoying.
It's
You
this
could have
one.
to
I have it
look at
highlighted
it
on the
first.
screen. It's right here.
I know, but we just need to take out elected and appointed because we still need the term for office.
Okay.
So have we approved all the changes that have been approved so far?
Yeah.
Could you, yeah, there we go. So everything that has been approved so far is it's on the documents.
Yeah,
Okay. Now we're just fixing the grammatical changes that kind of that ripple effect. Okay. Naomi?
Because there's also grammatical changes when you that define like officers, right? Like we'd have to change that too.
yeah, because we need to remove,
Is there
Alice?
a way for us to, in our motion, this is for a question for you, Francisco, if I motion to amend something, can I say, I motion to amend that judges, this is an example, I
Yeah.
motion to amend that judges be struck from the Constitution in this section and all ensuing corresponding changes, and that way we can do it as grammatical after the meeting, or,
We have to do it within the confines of the.
okay, but we could
Yeah.
approve it, and then as we're discussing the next one, someone could go and.
yeah, we can, I feel like if someone,
I would leave it up to the sponsor themselves to do all the grammatical things, as long as it's purely grammatical.
yeah, because
Since-
like given the operators one, we would need to.
I mean,
Judicial
no one else has access to this bill, right? No one has editing privileges,
We don't.
just Francisco?
Yeah, you
So
guys are
we
all
should be fine.
reviewing, yeah.
The sponsor can only make grammatical changes by themselves as long as they are friendly to themselves and they're purely grammatical. I mean, it would be appreciated if it was announced out loud, but again, it is also your bill. Nandana.
Can we move on to like the next?
Oh, yeah, do we wanna go back to where we,
Yeah, so we're gonna go back to Article,
eight,
Article
yeah, the
8.
executive branch.
So I have a concern, Article 8, Section 2C. In the event of a tie vote among the voting members, since we decided that Senate is gonna have a voting seat, we have a meeting number. The non-voting student members may vote in order to break the tie. I am personally very against that because I don't think non-voting members should have tie.
Down to the section of them.
Yeah, what section is that? Did you? do you have a page
Article
number?
8,
Sec-
it's on page 4.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So then if there's a tie, the only way a motion can pass is if someone who is not elected, not appointed, or like,
We were,
go for it.
no, that is a good stipulation, like the case of a tie, since we do have an even number. But in the end, the board votes to hire them. So we, as elected officials, we voted to approve a hired person that came through the personnel committee and then is presented to us and therefore approved by our.
I have an easy fix. I mean, parliamentary procedure kind of dictates, I mean, suggests that the chair shouldn't vote unless it is a tie.
Yeah.
And in that case, there would never be a tie. Basically, it would always be 5-4, unless in the case of a abstaining, then the chair themselves can break that tie if the tie was ever to occur. So I guess that codified language in the Constitution would look like president votes in the case of a tie only. That's the way I see it, instead of, because I mean, if we're gonna now say that the ex officio is gonna be voting in the case of a tie, then we're now opening up that discussion behind who can vote, who can't vote. It's a whole can of worms, and just to for simple purposes, for simplicity, this is a suggestion. It's a suggestion in the parliamentary procedure. This is something that I genuinely follow between all my committees and here myself. I only vote if it's I usually only vote when it's unanimous or a tie.
So language
That's
saying,
a simple kind of change that I could say that the president votes in the case of a tie. It can be something that can be recommended. But no.
So just going back, the non-voting student members, so would Jacob's suggestion, we'd be keeping that? No, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think we should do that, because that way we're taking away voting power in the Constitution from someone who was elected by the student body and represents the student body.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it is generally the opinion. in my position, I typically find it that it's much more easier to just vote in times where I needed to vote.
It's like a personal thing.
No, it's
And
also
it's also,
regulated.
it's also in the parliamentary procedure that it's a suggestion, it's not required, it's a suggestion.
And
So-
given,
So
given that they
suggestion-
chair the meetings, that their job is to facilitate discussion rather than like drive it, and
But
that's
they are an
outlined.
elected official who has a voting, who is a
Right.
voting.
Yeah, I get that.
Personal choice. Yeah, and also suggestion, by putting that in the constitution, we're making it required, so I don't think that's fair.
It's just not really necessary.
I can see your concern, but else.
Do we have any motions then?
Or do we have any, yeah, exactly, do we have alternatives to,
If you don't believe in this, go for it, but motion to strike it then, instead of just going around and debate.
do I, okay.
Can we just have it, like, if there's a tie, doesn't the vote usually just fail? Like, is that what
That's
happens?
true.
Like, can we just stay with that? Rather than opening up a poll, like,
Is that a motion?
No, that's the question.
That's just a
We
question.
can, because, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And this, to clarify, this hasn't been added onto it yet?
no,
in
because,
section
yeah,
D?
yeah.
So can we just like ignore it, like, would I have to motion to get rid of that suggestion at all?
That's the thing is that, yeah, I did recommend, I mean, for the future that we have all amendments be voted on before we put it on.
Wouldn't we motion to approve this then?
Right.
That could be a motion, but technically, again, yeah, it's not on here, so.
Technically, it doesn't exist right now. We can't see it. We're operating under the guise that doesn't exist. Because it wasn't motioned to be on there.
Are any motions?
So
That leaves up,
it does leave a huge
we
question
need
lingering.
some way to break a tie vote, cause. We need to wait for things to succeed rather than fail.
I have a question.
Brandon?
I was just gonna say, like, it Sturgis heavily recommends that you do probably break a tie. You
Yeah.
need something put in place to break a tie, because otherwise having motions automatically fail goes against the point of parliamentary procedure.
Yeah, in the case where it is tied, worst case scenario, ties doesn't mean that it fails, but the chair usually isn't gonna break the tie. And since there are now 10 voting members, it gives the option of having a tie. Who raised me hands first? Leah was saying, and then Mohini, and then Francisco, and then Alice.
I was just gonna say, like, in regards to having, the part C that's like in green, I don't think that we should include that in the Constitution just because like they're non-voting for a reason. I mean, like, it's in the title. And also I think that, like, similar to what Brendan said, instead of, I mean, if it is heavily recommended within the parliamentary procedure, I think that you should just take note of that, like maybe within the Constitution, instead of having this be the factor. That way, like, it's like written that that's like the recommendation, or I guess like, but I don't think you should have that part. in.
That the president like only vote during tie
Well,
events?
it's not the president. Wouldn't it make sense for you to say like, it is like recommendation, like that the chair abstains until like.
So we don't limit them to only, like, we're saying in the Constitution itself that it's a recommendation.
Yes, well, I think you can refer to the part of like the procedure that states, like specifically that part that states like, it's recommended by, parliamentary procedure that, the chair abstains, unless in the given case that it's a tie, and then like, and then expand on that. And I think that that's also something that could be followed for like all committees and not just I mean like all places that people vote, and not just, like for board too.
I was just gonna suggest, we could just put something in the Constitution or the proposal Constitution that says that there is a way to break a tie, but delineate that to the ASUW bylaws.
You can just say.
Leaves it up to too much.
That's also leaves open the
I mean,
possibility
like,
that someone,
You don't have
if
to
someone
make it
could
so,
temporarily suspend the bylaws and overlook that fact. That's the thing. The bylaws are very much something that is very accessible and prone to change at any moment, given in time. So that's the loophole that we create. It went Francisco and then Ellis.
Unless you have like a question or a comment,
No, I'm motioning.
Okay, yeah, then I motion to add Article 8, Section 2C, that
Second,
It is,
let's wait for the motion. to be read.
it is the recommendation that the chair of any committee, including the ACW president, to vote only in the event of a tie.
Second.
I mean,
Do we, like,
even if
you
they
wanna-
abstain, they would say, it would still be considered a vote. I think you should say
Okay.
withhold,
To abstain.
yeah, be like, I think you should emphasize the
Abstain,
abstention.
okay.
I think you should say, it is the recommendation that the chair of any committee, including the ASUW president, to abstain.
I wouldn't put ASUW president in there because in the case like last time where the chair can basically recuse themselves, I mean, the chair can recuse themselves and then take it. See, this is opening up a whole can of worms. I'm just thinking about multiple possibilities. The chair can also just drop down from being the chair and then vote. It would open up too many loopholes again.
So is that an objection?
We were in the middle of changing the original thing.
Yeah, there
So-
is no motion made quite
So
yet.
chair of any committee abstain from voting until.
And then let's just add delineate chair. Yes, well, where she's. Leah, let's
Oh,
let's let the sponsor.
Oh, no, you can, add something while I.
You know, that's smart, like out Sturgis parliamentary procedure, XYZ.
But the thing is, we don't all use Sturgis though.
Well, no, the
We
board
also-
does.
We also use Robert's rules, and this would affect the whole organization.
Committees will follow the delineated parley pro procedure in the event of a tie.
The first servant of the assembly.
Does anyone have a charger?
Okay.
USB-C.
Oh,
How many, I'm gonna- No,
So are we allowed to go back and?
I think my computer would be doing all this heavy lifting.
yeah, we
we
could.
could make a motion at any time, anything. I mean, it was
It's
just,
unfair.
it was just a consensus that we would just move on once it's passed or failed, then we just move on, but if you're technically allowed to, just within discretion.
Not exactly. You would have to motion to amend a
Yeah,
previous
that's
motion.
that's what they're asking.
Yeah. You can make the motion, you can just make the motion, override a previous motion, you have to motion to amend previous motion. And then since that
I'm not talking
motion
about
was.
motion right now, I'm talking about not motion, just in general, anything that was previously discussed and already approved or failed, can we still go back and try again, that's what the question is. The motion, yeah, motions can always be appealed, motions can always be amended, but they have different voting requirements, but I do agree, yeah, but in this case, since this were, I mean, the question was, it already passed, can I go back and take a look at it? Yeah,
Yes.
yes, you can.
But the language of how that is specific.
Hold on. So Francisco, you were about to get ready for a motion, but are you not ready for that yet?
Okay,
There was another motion if you're not ready.
probably pro. Steve voted unless in the case of a tie, that works.
Okay. We have motion, Linda?
Yeah, I would like to state my reason before I make this motion so that people don't think that I'm doing it just for the sake of it. Like, I really think this is something that we should have considered, like the tie-breaking thing, and it's not something we should come up with in like the last 10 minutes of this meeting because the language is very vague and open to interpretation and can have like an everlasting impact. So because of that, I'm going to motion to go back and remove the vice speaker of the student senate from voting membership simply because we did not consider all of the consequences and all of the language, and I think deserves like more research and more deliberation. And I don't believe that we should make these changes so fast, so soon.
I'm gonna object to that.
Well, we need a second before you
Yeah,
can
there's
just.
no motion.
Second.
There's no mo-
Object.
Is there a motion?
That was
Okay, that was seconded by Naomi, and then that was objection. You going back to the motion maker, you want to use your time? Use your time, Phyllis.
This board already made a decision. It was not in the last 10 minutes of the meeting. I think that to bring this up again, especially given that not all board members are here because we are in a special meeting, is disrespectful of their voice because we have all collectively decided on it with a full quorum and voted on this issue.
Respond to that.
So we're open for discussion now, so.
Let you just
anyone can
choose.
Say, yeah, so Rohini, no, Rohini, Nandana.
Alright. One, again, to reemphasize what Ellis said, this is something that the board already voted on. It's best to stick with that decision. Two, I also do want to say that the board already has had access to this for a long time and it was introduced. This consideration was already a suggestion before the board meeting, from my understanding, and that's something that could have been considered. I don't think it's fair to try to retract a previous decision, especially when it comes to something as important as adding a voting member, especially for the Senate. Just to try to fix this, that doesn't feel like the proper or democratic way to specifically try to fix this. We should be focusing our time on actually, one, finding a way to figure out, to vote, to figure out to break ties, and that should be the focus of this rather than trying to remove membership from a specific organization or from the Senate in this case.
Nandana, Naomi, Alice, Francisco.
Yeah, responding to what Ellis said, I don't think we can use the argument of like there aren't enough people here because when Naomi brought that up when we were talking about the calendar days argument, like we still have quorum, so it's not necessarily, I think, a valid argument to say that we can't vote on important decisions if it was been previously voted by the board when everyone was here. And also, the reason I'm going back on a decision made by board is because at least how I felt is we did not consider the effects that this decision would have. And like, I feel like that requires way more deliberation. Like what I meant by the last 10 minutes is we're coming up with a way to break a tie, which like could influence a lot of important decisions in the last 10 minutes. And that was a ripple effect of making the vice speaker a voting member. So I feel like if we don't know exactly how we're gonna deal with the consequences of that decision, we shouldn't be making that decision.
Naomi.
I mean, yeah, she basically covered what I was gonna say. Again, I don't think it's fair to use the argument that like more people from board were here last meeting when like that was my whole point for why we shouldn't be having this meeting and rushing this today. I think we could just have it so that we keep the vice speaker. I've already discussed like why I don't think it's a good idea, but we could have it so just the vote fails if it's a tie. Like I don't think changing voting membership is like the way to go, and I don't think it's fair to recommend to a chair that they can and can't vote when like they also have the right to do that. That takes away their rights and opens a huge can of worms and just interpretation and possible issues. I think we shouldn't make that decision like on like a whim, or like we should not rush that decision.
And then it went Ellis and then Francisco and then Amanda.
I hear what you're saying, but I think that you clearly have a lot of changes that you want made to the Constitution, and the board voted on this, so you are effectively wasting your own time of suggesting changes by circling back to an issue that the majority of vote sat, deliberated, thought about, and voted yes on. There are going to be ripple effects for every change within this Constitution, and so you can apply that argument everywhere. I think you have things that you want to make changes on. Let's focus on this because we can go back into the rabbit hole of Senate Vice Speaker, but fundamentally, I believe the board voted on this, we decided on this. So it's like, what else do you want us to vote on? How are we gonna move forward from this? Because going in circles right now we're not gonna get anything done.
Francisco.
Yeah, I'd like to concur on what Rahini said. Our focus should be figuring out, not going back to previous amendments and focusing on a way to break the tie in the first place. And saying, I honestly feel like I've been unheard or ignored during the times I said in my board reports on November 30th, 2023, January 18th, 2024, February 1st, and February 22nd, when I stated that I'm working on the Constitutional Reform Task Force, and we've been doing this work. And if you weren't paying attention when we were doing that, as that was the purpose of those, if you had questions, I was there, and I feel we've again, and I understand you guys weren't there, and like it's really valid that you guys would have these concerns now and these comments, but saying that it's been rushed is. It's. It's not great for me.
I understand. Okay. Let's make sure that our language we use is something, let's think about the words we say before we say them. At the end of the day, you're all coworkers, so. But we're going to
Yeah.
point information, what's your point of information?
I want to ask again, did the board have on its discussion items, the Constitution Reform Task Force proposal constitution? Is more directed towards Francisco, and do you remember when that was?
We do not have a discussion item for those. I reported them in my board report, but if any member again wanted to, they could have asked questions about that.
Okay.
And I could have been more in depth about it.
I
and
see,
can
I see.
say so for that.
Yeah, Rohini's asking, have we ever had discussions during the period of time, and you're saying that you reported it, but it was never a discussion. I can see where this is going, but, Amanda?
I just want to say that it is standard procedure to not have the chair vote because that would be a conflict of interest. For example, for our exec board for GPSS, we have 7 exec senators voting and there's 6 officers, but the president abstains from voting. So that way there's a tiebreaker if needed from the president. And also I do agree with Alice and what Rohini and Francisco said. It's kind of going around in circles and it is unfair to go back and change something when it's already been decided on. And this is, again, you're taking extra time. This is an extra special meeting. So I think that, again, going back in circles, vice speaker should not be taken off of voting membership.
We're gonna go back again with who spoke. Who spoken last? Rohini spoke.
Okay, 2 things. One, I do want to point out already in the constitution that we have currently, for Senate specifically, the speaker usually only votes if necessary in to break a tie. That's something that's already in procedure and can be something that's done here as well. Second of all, I also do want to emphasize removing the vice speaker from by the suggestion of removing the vice speaker from voting membership from board. I believe that decision in and of itself, after it's already been decided the last board meeting, is just gonna it's gonna alienate the Senate from the board itself, especially when this is a decision already made and this is a decision that has already been made and shouldn't be focused on, especially if you want the ASUW board of directors and the ASUW as a whole to be properly interacting and representing all of its all components of its organization, and that includes the student senate.
Going back in the order. Leah?
I would just say that I'd have to agree with like keeping the vice speaker on the voting membership just because we already did take that to a vote. And I think it is not fair if we do go back and vote on that. I feel like that's not democratic. Like it doesn't really make sense for us to do that, especially since that is a vote that we already all took into account. And I don't think that anybody's vote would change, honestly. And I also do think that it opens up the conversation of like the abstention from the chair. And I think that while the chair should abstain, it doesn't necessarily mean that if there's a tie that the motion fails because it passes just as much as it fails if it's a tie. So I don't think that our next resort should be to determine whether or not the vice speaker should be a voting member, especially when that is something that we literally did already vote on.
I'm gonna speak in my own experience because we're kind of discussing my position right now and what it kind of entails. It's not any specific language in the bylaws or the constitution that says that I should not vote. It's just been a recommendation passed on president to president to president to president to president to president. And it has been the president that usually abstains. And in my opinion, in my experience so far, what I've been doing, what I've been trying to do, unless I felt strongly, was that I abstain unless it is unanimous or it's a tie. That's been When it's unanimous, I will tack on my vote because then there's no one against it, there's no one abstaining. When there is someone abstaining, I usually abstain with them as well. Just because it's not unanimous in that case. That is my kind of 2 cents there, but also I want to add that I can understand that because of the addition of the new vice speaker as a voting member, it does open up a lot of loopholes that we're trying to fix one by one, and it will take time, but given that we made the decision, I think now we kind of made our bet and we got to lay in it. Now we have to go through all these things and make sure that we don't mess up anything else in the future. We're gonna go, Ellis, Rohini. And then
I motion to close debate.
Second.
motion to close debate, seconded by, Francisco. And it is non-objectionable. We're going to take it to a vote. All those in favor of closing debates, raise your hands and say yay.
Yay.
I believe we have a yay from Amanda.
All right, seeing it is unanimous, it has been, we have closed the debate.
Gotta vote on that thing.
And as you can see as an example, when it's unanimous, I'll tack on my vote. All right, now we're going to a vote on whether or not we should add.
No, remove. Yeah.
The motion is to remove, okay. The motion to, no, we can't do that. We're gonna vote. voting period now.
It's a bit late now.
It's a little, yeah. So there's a motion to remove from Article 8, Section 2, letter A, number 5, the Vice Speaker of the Student Senate. Really moved and seconded. So taking it to a vote, all those in favor, raise your hands and say yay. All those against,
Yay.
what does it say?
Mine says no.
/against.
No/against.
Okay. It's a very low voting number, so I gotta make sure this is. What's that?
Did you do call for abstention?
What?
And we need a
That's
majority.
that's all of our numbers right there. And the last person is me.
Hey, what was your vote?
You didn't vote.
Go to all
The
votes,
votes?
Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
sorry. I guess we don't need to do that. Okay, sorry, again, all those in favor? All those in favor, and then all those against? One,
And Amanda said no.
and then, okay, all those abstaining. Okay, so with that, the vote is 2 to 3 to 2. Does that add up to a full 7?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, the motion fails.
I motion for a 5-minute recess.
Motion for, make it 10.
10, I meant 10.
No, 5. I'm leaving at 7:30.
Okay.
What
was your motion?
I motion to recess for 5 minutes.
Okay, motion to recess for 5 minutes until 7:10. All those, it's not objectionable, so all those in favor, put your hands and say yay.
Yay.
Oh, I'll say it. All those in favor? Oh, actually,
General consent, I don't care.
there's no objection, so.
Yeah, general consent.
All right, I guess it's unanimous. Is anyone against it?
No, like God, no.
Anyone against?
Bio break.
All right, general consent then, it is unanimous. Recess till 7:10. Oh,
Yeah,
I guess
it's like
7:11 now, 'cause
Close
it's 5
this whole
minutes.
channel. I don't actually know much about that. If I speak.
My butt hurts. and
Also,
my head hurts.
answered his own question on March 8th, like, he should have just wrote that.
It was expected like 9 for this meeting.
I said until 8, but I don't think it's, I should have probably called this meeting earlier, but I don't.
Meeting like 9?
I don't think I'm not trying to rush.
That's, I know, I understand, but I mean, if we voted on that last time, we just have to
Oh,
deal
okay.
with the consequences of what it affects. Simply modifying that language to be
Like, you
necessary.
can't say that we're.
Also, see what you think of it.
4 hours, I'm so tired.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Got past most of the
I know,
reports, but since we were more concerned about the last, I think it skips forward.
No, maybe not got the.
Yeah, but let's do it, because I haven't had time to fix it.
Bala Arangwadi Sham?
Yeah.
I wish I could wrap it up. Since I'm writing it, I'll see it. I'll see the things.
Okay. That was. Um. Because the bill passed Senate and now it's going, or steering to removal of the liaison. So you can, this is, you do need to give them opportunity to, because it's automatically an executive
So the
session.
thing is, when we do have our steering meeting on Monday, because he's enacted, because he should have been inactivated a few weeks ago, I will have to retract my Senate order.
Okay, so
Um,
he,
table
You can
it.
just
I will
withdraw it,
So
and
wait,
I'll
when-
mark it as withdrawn.
okay, when was he, wait, oh, so
You
he,
should have been inactivated a while ago.
but he just wasn't? Oh,
But
okay.
he will be inactivated, but anytime he loses membership, it doesn't matter if it's in the court or not,
Okay,
he loses his membership.
he just has to regain membership. His, no, okay, I see.
The thing is, even if you, anytime you lose your membership, regardless of if you regain it or not, you've lost your liaison position.
So he's,
So then-
either way, we will have to put financial budget on.
Technically,
I have told Amanda not to tell him about the liaison thing because it has, he's technically, because of the Senate order, he can't be removed yet until I remove it, until I take it.
Yeah, so you have to.
you can just withdraw it, because I think if it's withdrawn,
I will wait for the day before.
because I know you can withdraw it at any point, I just should update it on the Senate website.
I will withdraw it.
Because I can't post something that doesn't have a sponsor.
I will withdraw it during steering. Wait, can I table it? Cause I mean, if he gets reelected, I'll just put it back on.
Okay, yeah, actually, if you want to table.
It's like, hey.
Do you have
Hoping
a?
Amanda,
are you-
the last.
You're
thing
not,
that
yeah.
I'm done.
Oh,
This is
are you leaving
attendance
because you're at
is-
home?
But that's up to
trivia night, bro. Like,
Yeah, split in. I'm sorry, they put an hour making the changes, they not making the
How much
changes.
more? Yeah, how much more?
There's like an entire document.
I know there's no entire document. I'm just like, how many more discussions are we having?
A lot, there's a lot of suggestions on here.
I see.
We also.
What, they wasted their own time, like, sorry.
I think,
We
yeah,
spent an hour talking over, we should have just,
I was like, motion, is that a motion?
there's a reason why the steering committee spent a long time on just one
at any
article.
point in time, you could just.
I know, I've been thinking about that, but I don't know if it passed.
Oh, that's true. You actually, you do need 2/3 and that means you need a minimum 6 votes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 2 things. Who's present?
Nope, 2/3 of board. That's 6 votes.
Do we have 6 people here?
Have
We
7.
have 7 people here.
That's narrow. Those are slim margins.
So I know, so if you go.
Don't have to be unanimous.
Yeah, I would recommend whatever changes Naomi wants, just make the motions, and if they fail, they fail, if they pass, they pass.
Exactly. I'm like, what is all this? Like, oh, I feel like bullshit. No, no feelings. Motions.
Honestly, all those concerns should have been discussed beforehand with Francisco, or they should have been suggestions. I know we had to push for that in our own steering committee, and that's just for one article. That should have been done beforehand as well.
Yeah.
And that's how it was in constitutional reform.
So what can be done is you just, Naomi can just motion to change this particular section, and then if you all agree, then that's when you discuss the language, and then you can motion to pass the language. So at least you kind of just, you'll be moving around, but at least you'll be narrow targeted, you don't have to talk about.
So you're just
one.
saying motioning to amend something or not,
Yeah,
and then like.
if it's not,
If we want to amend it at language and then just do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good system, because I don't think anyone wants to be here longer than.
Until like 9.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can.
Can I
argue-
motion for its own, so it's strictly motions? Well, I have a surprise birthday party at 9, so I will be leaving before then.
Yeah. No, you can't motion to
For the
prevent
rules.
someone from debating. That's,
You
gotta update that, it's preventing us from doing a lot of.
Just take it out of.
Yeah,
budget
and
revenue.
also
We need
without,
money.
without the for
No,
nonprofit
we can
status,
pay
we
our
didn't get money at all.
What
That's why. Alright.
How you doing?
Great, how are you?
Good, Rit.
Is this like a TV show?
A bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice because I don't have to input anything.
No.
And I get to just listen to you guys argue about.
I got you. I got you, yeah. That's why
I
board
want-
meetings
I
are
want
so fun.
personal privilege, okay?
Wait for the season finale.
Personal
I
privilege.
know, can't wait.
Please go
Exciting.
Alright.
to have them turn out.
Finale.
Yeah.
So corny. Suggestion.
Oh my god, it's corny when you say it, but it's not corny when you actually see it. Back in session. Was there a motion? There was no motion, so actually, Rainey.
There was a suggestion made during recess, I wanna bring this up now. What we could do, just for the sake of time, is specifically to go through each section, see through what was made. And then we first initially motioned if we want to amend the section or
Yeah.
not. If we don't wanna amend the section, we go on,
Yeah, we were doing
and
that.
then you just finalize that.
Yeah, we were doing that. The biggest issue with that is
We kind of.
when we're doing that, it also points to other sections that we have to go check and cross reference. That was the issue. I mean, I've been suggesting this in the beginning since last week. But the only issue is that they all go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Which would mean that we have to go to each section and make sure that, because then if we pass this today and it's a single typo, we're screwed the rest of the year. The next 2 years, actually. So,
Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna continue. So we have a grammatical thing for associate director because we technically, there isn't a director of the student activities office anymore. There's an associate director, and Renee brought that up to me, so that's a grammatical thing. And then we can. Rahini, you mentioned that in the bylaws or like the Senate, either way, that it said that the speaker does that. Do you have the language with that? And if you're willing to insert it, so we have.
It's in the
let's go show the hand right now, Alice.
Motion to amend to add to this section C that says, in the event of a tie, the chair of any committee shall refer to the respective parliamentary procedure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the thing, is that, I mean, it's kind of generally inferred and that's.
Okay,
It
then
would
I
be-
withdraw my motion and
Yeah,
can I make another one?
sure, yeah.
Motion to completely strike this and leave it up to interpretation going forward.
Yeah, I mean, the general consensus in the suggestions here is that a tie fails and that the chair should abstain unless it's unanimous or the only cases where someone absolutely cannot vote is if they have any personal, financial, any kind of conflicts, any
Yeah,
kind of
and that's the
bias,
bylaws.
any kind of, yeah.
Okay, well, that's
That's the only times where we can say they can absolutely not vote. So we don't want to take away the right to vote, but we also want to suggest that they use their vote with discretion. And that is also just up to discretion of the chair.
Francisco, you literally wrote that in your comment, though. You already wrote which part of parliamentary procedure it states. You said the presiding officer does have the right to cast a vote, but in an assembly, the chair customarily exercises the right when the vote is by ballot or when one more vote could alter the outcome. This preserves the chair's aura of impartiality and objectivity, page 127.
I was
You wrote
literally
that.
looking at, thank you for reminding me. So that's why,
So you
that's the
can-
next total sentence,
Um,
that the amendment you made.
Points of parliamentary inquiry, I guess, to myself, I mean, like, can we just make this document only editable by you yourself? Because I'm still seeing a bunch of like now it says for section 2, letter A, number 2, is just a huge typo there now.
Where?
Four student members, that's what it says. And it looks like Amanda's the one that, I don't know if it's an accident, but I don't wanna accidentally put in a typo. So
Where does
I
that
think
say that?
right there, article
Yeah,
article 10, section 2,
Page?
that's page 12 of the actual document.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, let's just change the document itself to only be editable, but just quick suggestions only, because I'm not sure who has edit access and who's doing this, but let's do that for now. Because nearly 60 people have access to this bill.
So did no one second my motion or?
Or to leave it up to interpretation?
Well, your motion was that just to leave it as is, you just withdrew, right?
No, and then I re-motion to completely strike section C.
Okay. Well, it doesn't exist, that's the thing.
Yeah, you would have,
Like, all the things that are like in highlights or in different colors are
Okay.
suggestions.
Can I make another motion?
I would,
Yeah, but let's wait till the document is change that's not editable anymore. Cause there's plenty of people that can edit.
I have a good motion though.
Yeah, it says me, Aiden Reader, Brendan Chang, co-chair of EIC, me again, Rohini, edits so far. So, yes, Rohini.
Okay, to answer Francisco's earlier question about the language for the speaker, it says a speaker who must be elected by the membership of the student senate and who may only vote in the case of a tie. I also do want to say, even if it's already implied within like partly pro that the chair only votes in that circumstance, just putting in the constitution will just make it consistent.
Yeah.
So you could just say, like,
Yeah,
who may only vote in the case of a tie, and then just add the necessary language before that if you'd like.
and here's the thing though, is that we use two different things. Senate uses Robert's rules and then we use theirs, which
This is language in the constitution.
Yeah, which language we use referring to which parliamentary procedure. 'Cause this is a standardized edition.
The part that
It-
Francisco read out earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
start
that's
with
in, if that's in the constitution, where is it?
It's specifically page 9, I believe.
In the proposal or
No, it's in the proposal and the current constitution.
what article?
Article,
That one changed.
Article 9, Section 3, where it's talking about membership. I also just highlighted it. Any comment?
Oh, oh, So it does say in Article 9 Legislative Branch, Section 3, Clause A1. Oh, it is A1. A1, a speaker who must be elected by the membership of the student senate who may only vote in the case of a tie. So there is precedent for the chair of an entity to only vote in the case of a tie.
I'm guessing this is also.
So, actually.
So
No.
it is enforced language for the Senate that in a tie, they would vote, but anywhere else they wouldn't vote. So I mean, do you want to codify that for the chairs of all committees then?
But the Senate Vice Speaker isn't a chair.
No, I'm saying the chair of any committee.
We can say the
'Cause I mean,
president.
it's not just the president though, it's a bunch of chairs in every committee. Like if you're chair of judicial, Ellis is like chair of the task force, you're chair of the task force. I mean, in this case, are we gonna put this for every committee?
Who is chair? I
Again, what is this right now? I mean, there's a lot of typos that I'm seeing that are being really like. Can we, before we do anything else, can we make the document only editable by you? It should be, right?
I would assume so. If anyone else is,
Can everyone refresh their pages, please?
unless you're not, then maybe you should just go to the reviewing option.
I'm in reviewing, so I can't make edits.
Like, this is what I see right now. Can edit.
Okay, well then.
Like,
I'll
there's a
check that.
specific link, you sent out 3 different links, you put people need up with the link edits, people need up with link can review, and people need up with link can review. There's 3 different types of links we have, so just delete one of the links.
Then remove that one, then we only have review, and then that kicked off a lot of
Yes,
people.
and that kicks it probably kicks off a lot.
If you guys refresh and then we'll see what happens.
That's the thing, the links don't exist.
It's not very clear precedent if we can't vote in an elected by the student body. I think like we shouldn't get rid of the president's vote, just I think like because we added a new seat, like I don't,
Well, a new seat that wasn't elected by the student.
yeah, like
This
I think
makes-
the issue of the tie is the problem, and I don't think taking away voting rights, because we're not taking away the right of the vice speaker to vote, why are we taking away the right of the president to vote?
Exactly.
Then.
Then make a motion.
What do you want? Like, you can't be against something, we need like
That's
something.
why I tried to make the previous motion.
Well, but we
I've been
already
against
agreed on
adding
that, we
to
can't
the-
go back in time. It's like, no, we're trying to elevate the voices of others, and so we can't, we need to,
Listen, I understand that.
Okay.
That's why I was against adding it in the first place. So, like, you can't say it I voted no on adding the vice speaker.
Like, we need to understand the consequences.
Yeah,
of our
okay,
actions.
It's just
get
not.
that.
Alice?
Okay, so you voted no, we voted no last Thursday, and now this issues are great, like we just need to move forward, like you either need to suggest language, no, you're, like, we need people to suggest language. Or to motion to approve the section, or to move on, but like, we have already decided the vice speaker is going to be a voting member of the board, that is done. We voted on it again,
Like I said, any motion can be made on anything. That is, anyone can freely do that, and obviously, we see that in real life, people can filibuster all they like over and over again, you can just, whatever fails, you can just keep motioning it, but again, it was just something that we decided on, and now we're gonna have to deal with the consequences of having to figure out the language for everything, so it might take us some time. Francisco.
I motion to amend Article 8, Section 2, B6 to include the president who is chair of the board of directors who may only vote in the case of a tie.
Second.
Object.
Okay, it was.
I'm gonna delete it. Hey,
Where's that? You're not, okay. See, this is the issue, we're changing documents consistently, we're not operating in the bounds of our bylaws right now, so if we can edit, please put yourself into review mode. Please,
I
and
think
then we
people are
can,
just making suggestions.
yeah, but even the suggestions, we would have to motion to that suggestion, and we would say it out loud, we would say it out loud as
so
we
they
make
were
that motion.
just, no,
But
not.
it was
reviewing.
properly moved,
That's a-
a motion by Francisco to add to section Article 8, Section 2, letter B, to add number 6, the president who is chair of the board of directors and who may only vote in the case of a tie. And it was seconded by Ellis and it was objected to by Naomi. You were going back to the main motion maker, do you want to yield your time or we want to withdraw your motion?
I yield.
Yield your time to the objecting member?
I'll say it again, we should not get rid of the president's right to vote because we added another seat to this. That is not. Like, we can't say they can only vote in the case of a tie, like that, we can't take away their right to vote because we're adding the vice speaker, like it shouldn't be either or that we're taking away right now.
I'm gonna go as the order I saw. Nandana, Leah, Rohini, Ellis.
I completely agree with Naomi. I really think when the president is literally the face of ASUW and like the first member on the ballot that's elected, it's very unfair to take that away. And give that vote, like not necessarily give it, but like by adding the Senate Vice Speaker, this president is only limited in terms of their voting. And I personally am not gonna be comfortable passing this constitution if this is on there. I'm just putting that out there.
Leah.
I just think that I don't think that you should have this as a part of the section unless you state that it is as recommended by standard parliamentary procedure. The president who is a chair of the board of directors who may is recommended to only vote in the case of a tie. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're limited to voting at any other times. But I think that in the case of a tie, you might have to do like a recall vote or like breaking it down how we kind of did last week, and then the president votes in the case of a tie. But I think that you should really write that down in the Constitution that it's recommended as stated in standard parliamentary procedure.
I rescind my my motion.
It's been rescinded, so Rohini.
I do want to make a suggestion. If we're going to include this, maybe we could just rechange it so it's a combination of what Francisco just suggested and what Leah suggested. So Francisco, it could just be like, who is recommended to not vote unless it's case of a tie. So that way it's not like, it still keeps the same language, because I like the language of Francisco's amendment better, but we could just add the recommendation part in there, and I think that's a happy compromise.
Okay, I motion to amend Article 8, Section 2C to say, per the standard code of parliamentary procedure, it is the recommendation that the chair, I should make that president, so we define this better. That the
Leave that chair.
Can I ask a question?
It makes sense, leave that chair.
That's Francisco's choice to make.
Right, but then again, that would also open up,
I
that
thi-
the president also votes in
If-
a lot of committees.
If the president is also, if the ASUW largely goes off standard, then it would go to every chair of every committee, so that makes sense.
Also, the fact that, if you put that language in there, you would effectively change a lot of things, including that. Now, are we opening up the discussion about the president voting in different committee? I have a vote in every single committee. The Constitution also dictates that the president get put onto every single task force and vote. So are we saying that the president can vote, but the chair can't vote?
How about
I
we
mean,
just
okay,
specify
no, but
the president when chairing the board of directors?
I'm
Or
still,
the chair of the board of directors?
okay, no, I'm still saying my thing, sorry. Per the standard code of parliamentary procedure, it is the recommendation that the chair of any committee abstain from voting unless in the case of a tie.
So you're motioning. Do you want me first? We hear a second?
Can I recommend something?
No, we're still in a motion. Is there a second?
Seconded.
No, I rescinded. What's your recommendation?
My recommendation was how about if you just add, like number 6, the president, and then you could do 6A, and then you could be like, in the case of a tie, da 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 da.
Then again.
Can you do that or no?
6A.
No, because then that would also open up the conversation from last time where we just decided that the ex officio should not break the tie. That would effectively make the president ex officio of
Yeah.
of their own committee.
No, I meant like,
Yeah,
okay,
I mean,
yeah.
We're not saying, okay, this amendment isn't saying that they have to, and it's good that Leah did point out that it is a recommendation of that by the president who chairs the meetings based on standard code of parliamentary procedure, that it is the recommend, it's like, we're just transferring the wording
Yeah.
from the document that they.
so we're keeping them in the same position.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna put letter C to include that, so, okay, I mean, we're not in motion yet, right, so now.
Isn't that already a thing? Like, I recommend they only vote in the case of a tie, and because it is 10 members now too, that's 9 members who are voting and not having to and to abstain. That's 5 and 4, like that. This is already a thing in which the chair usually abstains. Like I feel like it's not solving our issue of the
Well,
number of.
we're
10.
assuming that, we're operating under the assumption that the vote is always gonna be 5 to 4, people also can abstain, and
Well,
that number can be 5 to 3 to 1.
back to my point though, isn't it already a recommendation that the chair abstains? Like is like this whole tie issue really that big of like an issue? Like I feel like.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, which since the addition of the vice speaker, this is what kind of what we open ourselves to, so, Rohini?
Okay, one, I also want to point out there is an order specifically in which things take precedence, which is like constitution over bylaws, over rules, over anything that's not outlined in any of those 3, and then it's like probably for pretty much. That's the general order that this has. So by putting it in the Constitution, you're codifying it on an essentially higher level. That is the point of having this in here. Barring any other further changes, I would like to. What do you like to- Yeah, I motion to add Article 8 under section 2, part C, the standard code of parliamentary procedure, it is the recommendation that the chair of any committee abstain from voting unless in the case of a tie.
Second.
The motion reads as. What does the motion read as? Is it as it's written?
Yes, per the standard, yes.
As it's written.
Okay. Who seconded?
Alice.
I did.
Okay, so it was properly moved and seconded by Rohini and Ellis to add to Article 8, Section 2, letter C. Are we keeping per in there?
Yeah, per,
Okay.
I do.
Per the
understand how
standard
confusing
code
this
of parliamentary procedure, it is the recommendation that the chair of any committee abstain from voting unless in the case of tie. And we're gonna keep this under the, okay,
Wait, no, just.
sure, and then it was seconded by Ellis. And are there any objections?
I object.
Objection from, no, now we're gonna go back to the motion maker. Do you want to yield your time or do you want to withdraw your motion?
Was it just a question?
You want to yield your time or withdraw?
I own my time.
Give you time to end it.
Okay, so the president, just so I know what I'm voting on, the president only votes when it's a tie.
It's the recommendation. We're not saying,
Yeah.
it's the recommendation.
So what would happen if it's 5 to 5?
Well, then it fails.
Okay, should we put that?
Yes.
in there?
Well,
No,
no,
you don't have
that's-
to, it's already kind of, it's already inferred, the placement of this doesn't necessarily put any enforceable action. Breaking this policy doesn't necessarily mean there's gonna be any enforceable action, because, again, it's a recommendation. But we're not period of discussion now, so,
Right.
we have to go to Ellis. Okay,
I motion to close debate. Second.
motion to close debate by Ellis, seconded by Rohini. All those in favor of closing the debate, raise your hands and say yay.
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 All those in favor of closing the debate, please raise your hand and say yay.
Yay. Amanda
Yay.
says yay.
1, 2. Can we keep our hands up, please? Please, 1, 2, 3.
Amanda's a yay.
And then all those against? All those abstaining? So
4, 2.
I guess the motion is 3 to 2.
I know it's 4.
4-2-1. It's 4-2-1.
I'm abstained.
Well, yeah, that's why you're one.
Oh, I thought,
Leah, Francisco, myself, and Amanda voted to end debate.
that's,
Yes.
That's 4. Nandana and Naomi voted no. That's 2. You are 1.
whatever that was.
That's-
So we're closing debates. All right, so
Now we go to the
now we're
motion.
going to the main motion. The main motion was to add to Article 8, Section 2, letters C. Per the standard code of parliamentary procedure, it is the recommendation that the chair of any committee abstain from voting unless in case of a tie. It's been properly moved and seconded. Going to our votes, all those in favor, please raise your hand and say yay.
Yay.
All those against,
Amanda's in it. Yay.
all those abstaining. All right, the motion passes 4-1-2. Let's get that just approved right now. Let's just let this be a lesson that we should not make any amendments to a bill before bringing it to the board and motioning it there, because now is a bunch of numbers and letters that are moving, and we don't know which one has been approved and which ones hasn't.
Who's doing stuff?
Yeah.
Who's
We
doing
all,
stuff?
like, at this point, we have to ask you to turn your computers off. Like, I don't know what to do, because I keep suggesting that we should all not touch the bill. Let the sponsor do the edits as we make them in proper motion and add them into the bill. So if you are typing anything, please, I mean, you might accidentally type something and we won't know and see it until it's been approved.
Check there.
So we don't have time to go read the whole entire thing and just check for a single letter misspelled. Okay. Continuing on, what section are we going to next? It should be just letter C now.
Yeah, I love life.
I just want to mention that this was put into the
There you go.
executive branch. I mean, are we putting this? I mean, it's in the executive branch. I'm not sure if that
Well,
means anything, but I mean, we can keep it in there for now. We'll see.
We have bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
The entire constitution to hopefully approve, so that the student body should have the final vote if we love democracy so much.
All right. What's the next amendment?
I have a motion.
Oh, Alice?
Grammatical motion, to change section 7, recall and submission of directors, just be a special election, singular.
Like that?
Yep, perfect.
Okay.
Is it a new section? Oh, this is already.
It was a special election.
It was just the removal of an S, so I think it's grammatical.
So yeah, now we're down. Yeah, is there any other things about the executive branch you guys want to talk about?
Definitely.
Okay, then we can move on to the legislative.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
So are we, I don't, are we still going with that, the executive branch only as final executive authority, not the whole judicial and legislative as well? Is,
yes, because that's in the final proposal, the proposal as it is right now. You may want to amend that if you want, but you can motion it.
Are we going in order right now?
Yeah, this is Article 8 still, Section 8,
Section 8? Okay.
Board of Directors. Clause
Yeah,
A.
I wish we could included. that
Article
in
8,
there.
Section 8, Clause A.
Oh, I have a grammatical in the same section. Or maybe, yes, section 8E, discretionary is not spelled correctly.
Nope.
Should be discretionary.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any motions?
Francis, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you know where exactly in the executive branch, it states that we only have final executive power, where like it got rid of in the old constitution, the judicial and legislative?
It's gonna be that section where like it only says it like
And then
exercise the
section
final
one?
executive legislative and powers, just legislative powers was removed from based on the final proposal that we sent.
I thought it was already in the Constitution that we don't have powers to make non-legislative bills
What?
in the Constitution. Well, actually, it's in the bylaws.
Well, no, that doesn't talk about that.
So what exactly is it changing?
So it's only having executive power, so we removed legislative and judicial powers from that.
I have a point of. Amanda has to leave by 8 p.m., as do I.
At that point,
Yeah, then we can. Okay, if there's no other motions, we're gonna go forward. Cause we should be making motions. Cause we still have a lot and we've been here, and by the time it's 8, we've been here for 3 hours and haven't been efficient with our time. So I'm gonna move on to legislative again if there's no motions.
Yeah, can you like point to the thing? I can't find it.
Oh.
Where it says that the executive has final executive authority.
So are you looking at the proposal?
Yes.
Section
It's
8A.
yes, it's Article 8, Section 8A.
Top of page, or middle of page 6, I've highlighted it.
Okay. Can we amend that?
Yes,
You have a motion?
Oh.
That was me.
No.
My bad.
no,
my
Control
bad.
Z.
I was on the wrong document,
Yeah,
sorry.
no, okay.
I'm on review.
You're fine, you're fine.
No,
I-
just go on, motion.
Okay, motion to, add in Article.
Article 8, Section 8A.
Article 8, Section 8A, final executive, judicial, and legislative power of the ASUW.
Can you make it legislative and judicial?
That's not what I said.
I know, but can you do it? Okay, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
Simple.
Okay, well, when you make the motion, yes, state exactly what you want me, I want.
Yeah,
to read.
final executive, judicial, and legislative.
So you want the
So,
section
okay,
eight
cool.
to read as exercise of final,
Why are you going there?
hold on,
Executive, legislative, and
you got a
judicial.
motion?
Yeah,
Yeah,
motion
A
to
motion to add
add
to section, to article. Article 8, section 8.
eight.
Mhm.
Yes.
So you want to read as, so the motion is. Laramie's motion to add to Article 8, Section 8, letter A, to read as exercise the final executive, judicial, and legislative powers of the ASUW, subject to exercise of such powers ultimately resident in the membership of the ASUW. Is there a second?
Okay.
Seconded by Leah. Objections?
I object.
We just vote on it. Like, we all have our stance. Please, let's
Alright,
vote.
fine. No objection then.
You got your objection?
Mhm.
All right, taking it,
We're not gonna change each other's minds.
take it to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands and say yay.
Yay. Amanda says yay. Yeah, I'm saying yay. Amanda and I both say yay.
All those against,
Nay.
All those abstaining? The motion passes 5-1 to 1.
Motion to fix discretionary.
I love typos. I love.
Yeah, it's good. Grammatical, you wanna fix that? That's Scott.
The motion at the end is to have somebody go through and fix all grammatical changes.
We have to do it within the confines of our board, that's the thing. is that-
Can one of us, can I be designated as grammatical? Danger,
That's the thing,
please.
is that you would have to make motions to the sponsor, that's why I want the sponsors to go through it themselves.
Okay,
They don't
then
be
that is
friendly to
that is
themselves.
discretionary, sure. Because it's a typo. Okay, we're gonna move on because fun, legislative, unless there's anything in executive. Do you have amendments, please, for love, all that is holy?
Okay, it's okay. Motion?
I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna, we only have like so much time. Do you want me to go straight into what I
Yeah,
want?
Yes.
Okay. So, so again, like this isn't really a thing in which I can just motion for. It's kind of a bigger picture thing that I want to compromise on, and that's why I'm not just saying these big motions. So please don't make the argument that I should have had it like ready. So my computer's like frozen right now. So what's that? Yeah. I have like notes in it. Basically, just my issue, is that we have it to like, the process of like reviewing ASUW employees and their like just progress and like how they are doing under this new constitution is divided up very like into across 3 branches. There's one branch, the judicial branch, in charge of removal of officers making those decisions. There's another branch, personnel, in charge of human resources and the well-being of employees. And then there is another branch about monitoring the efficiency and responsibility of ASUW employees. And that makes just the process of one issue could leak into all of those committees when it really just is like how like their like job, like how well they're meeting it. It's just like it makes it too like that process very unclear. Like if someone's not doing their job, you could argue that that falls under any of these committees. And it's just like before we have the personnel director in charge of
No, you're okay.
I don't know, I'm dry. But like we have the personnel in charge of human resources and they're in charge of all of that for a reason that makes it streamlined under one just area. Under this new constitution, it makes it too just like kind of, it's a weird division of how that works, if that makes sense. And I'm not quite sure the way to motion this, but it's just very confusing, I would say. Like, because if also like Senate is the one who decides on like the removal of like officers. There are too many different ways in which it's not mentioned how exactly we remove officers and people like employees at ASUW.
So,
Yep.
one thing is that executive handles himself, Senate controls and handles themselves. And I'm assuming judicial controls and handles themselves, and so the argument you're making is that one decision can lead to the consequence of having to get multiple commissions and committees to resolve an issue. Someone just made it again, and it's now just made everything wacky. Someone clicked intro on accident, there we
Yeah,
go.
my computer's like tweaking everything.
Okay.
You can
Everyone,
change your-
Please go to review mode, please.
Okay,
please,
everyone.
please.
I'm in there.
No, don't go to review mode. Everyone look at my screen.
Go to
You're gonna go to review and you're gonna go to viewing.
Thank you.
Okay, so. Yeah, to speak on, no, I want to first apologize to both of you. I feel like I'm being angsty and a bit, but like I'm really, I think we're both passionate about this, and so like I do cherish like our friendship here, and so I do want to. The removal of officers, but it handles, that's the chief responsibility now is to review over like bills from either the Senate or the board, and that's their chief responsibility of it. And the removal of an officer is like a drastic measure. Auditorial board, their main thing is just record keeping, administration, and all that. They're gonna have the ability to audit, and that's gonna be like their whole like removal process you would want to say. But again, a lot of these things can be outlined in the bylaws, and that's the purpose of this 1 year gap. But their chief responsibilities for the judicial is to see whether or not legislation is constitutional or within the bylaws. The auditorial ensures that peoples are fulfilling their job description and such, and personnel, which should have their main focus be human resources, and so therefore mental health and well-being. So those are the stipulations that they are in. And the extremes of each are, yes, the removal of officers, but in the end, that's their extreme. That's not their main intent.
Well, Do you see the issue that I'm getting at though, where
Okay. We're gonna have to make things a lot more efficient, so we're gonna have to do raised hands, and I get it, we're responding to questions here, but it's making things a lot complicated here. Like, we're gonna respond real quickly, and then we're gonna go back to the order.
just on it, like you literally have in the judicial branch that they can decide on the removal of officers? Like you're saying that that's not their chief job, but like they have the ability to do that. And like it just, like right now, the way that happens is you have like a issue with the ASUW employee, you put that through personnel and then that gets handled. This makes it super confusing as to like, if an officer wasn't doing their job, like who would that go through? Like,
You have multiple.
there's like all of those different branches and then they have to work together for the same issue. Like I think having one branch in charge of just employees doing their job would streamline a lot of those issues and make the process a lot more efficient.
Any else under that?
For the sake of time, because we're already almost at 8. If you're gonna make a suggestion for general change, discussion should have happened and amendments should have been proposed and prepared beforehand, so please do that. Second of all, this is getting more into the discussion item. Francisco's already properly answered it. But again, from my understanding, this is just allowing for, in my view, this is actually allowing for more accountability from different sections of ACW as a whole, and accountability and holding, having more accountability from the ACW specifically is should be the main goal here, especially when we're amending the Constitution. And I just want to point that out. That should be that's the main point of it. Checks and balances, like our own US government. That's all.
I'm hearing all sides of that table right now, and I truly want to, I do sympathize with everyone here. I understand your argument is that it reduces efficiency, you're arguing that it increases accountability, and those both things that we, want to account for that, and want to account for that as well. Now, we're repeating the same things. We understand that suggestions should have been made, but now let's look at the time right now and let's just do it. Let's just continue. So let's go to Ellis.
I'll lower my hand, I guess. Okay, so we'll move forward. Or any other,
Keep in mind, like 10 minutes from now, we're gonna lose quorum.
goodness, okay, membership, where did that miss?
Oh, sorry.
There-
Linda?
Yeah, since we wanna make motions, I guess I'll make a motion. I think that since we're turning personnel from a committee to a branch that's already like expanding its scope, so I don't personally see the need for the auditorial, and since we don't wanna have that much discussion, I just move forward. I'm gonna say strike to remove the auditorial committee from the ASUW Constitution in all relevant areas.
Still waiting on the second.
What's the
Second.
the motion here?
Yeah.
Okay, your motion was,
Just to say the motion.
so everything is in order, so it's just article, section, number, that.
Article.
That's just where
I think
maybe,
the motion was.
where does it start?
It's Article 13, it's
Article
the auditorial
13.
branch. Oh, 13?
Okay,
Alright,
article,
Francisco, I want you to edit your,
Article
your
13.
proposal documents.
Yeah.
Or something.
I'm filling in the thing.
That's.
We can take out the whole article.
View, it's a review.
This makes it all
Just make
about-
a view, yeah.
If it's.
Yeah, but so you're gonna move it, just
If
can't
they're approving everything, no, but it's gonna show a violation.
No, it's highlighted, it's see issues. Right now, the issues that we're setting, you can't see it. So,
If this
I'm
branch is
gonna
part of
fix
the
it. Basically, you have these things, right? Manage access.
Yeah, I switched it to
Like
view.
Review, you just, when you go back to this one right here, and you open up this.
Well, I can change that link.
No, you can't. Right here, in this document, you change this thing here, to proposal constitution, so it's only, if you do it for
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not, we have no
Right.
time for anything.
I got you.
We were, we didn't rush it, we spent like, wait for the chair.
Your motion, can you repeat your motion?
I motion to eliminate Article 13 from the proposal constitution about the auditorial branch and make the necessary changes in all other articles.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Nandina, seconded by Ellis.
I object.
Going back to the main motion maker, do you,
I still, yeah, my point stands.
you wanna use your time?
Yeah.
Can I?
I don't
So
know
who
who.
went first?
I wanna object.
You objected, so Francisco objected, so first, no?
I think it's obvious why I support this. We are delineating responsibilities because we shouldn't combine the ideas of job efficiency and mental health and that's what we're doing with the personnel branch and the auditorial branch, and that's me.
We're still in a period of discussion, Ellis?
As the vice president, my duty is to oversee all of these committees and I do that through the coordinators. I completely understand the goal of the auditorial branch and I think for the sake of both compromise and also efficiency, that striking this section would hopefully make it this proposal constitution more amenable to all parties involved, as well as I understand the reason behind this section, but I don't think, and I support it, but I don't think it's essential and I think we need to move on, so I'm gonna motion to close debate.
No, I rescind my objection, so we don't. need to
Oh,
do that,
never
for
mind.
goodness sake.
You rescind your objection.
Yeah.
We're still,
We have other objections.
yeah, so we're
We can
closing,
do what we
the motion was to close debate, that takes precedence, so. Motion to close debate,
Oh, I forgot.
do you have any seconds?
Second.
Seconded by Nandina. So take it to a quick vote, all those in favor of closing debates, raise your hands and say yay.
Yay.
Please raise your hands and aye, keep them up.
Amanda says yay.
All those against? Abstaining? You didn't vote on, okay. Alright, with that, we're closing debates, 5-0 to 2. Alright, taking it back to the main motion. The main motion was, could you read it out loud again?
I motion to eliminate Article 13 auditorial branch from the proposal constitution and make the necessary changes in other relevant articles.
Okay, the motion was to remove Article 13 from the proposed constitution. We're gonna be taking it to a vote. All those in favor of removing Article 13, raise your hands and say yay.
Yay.
Is that it?
Amanda has not
There we
voted.
go.
Oh, yes, Amanda says yay.
All those against?
Nay.
All those abstaining? Okay, with that, the motion passes, 5-1 to 1. Article 13 on the proposal constitution has been removed. Naomi,
So to clarify, are we just making that go back to just the personnel branch? So we're redistributing that, like, the efficiency and responsibility of ASUW employees, that goes back to personnel, right? That's just not going away.
basically,
Okay, Francisco, you added, mentioned it for like the internal management or like OPMA and regulations. Will that just go back to how it is now, where it's just on your internal policy role? Is that what that change was doing?
Well,
Because that branch wasn't just,
yeah, they were helping the director of internal policy, OPMA regulations, historical research and record recording and bylaw and other.
that'll come back to your job?
Yeah,
Yeah, like I do think again, since like now you're no longer sharing the judicial committee, like that makes sense.
is this supposed to look this? General. She says general.
generally the committee established in this article are, yeah, I didn't change it. Yeah, see, generally they are.
Yeah, like a
Oh, no.
Okay,
Audit.
alright, Nandana,
I have a motion,
motion.
to amend Article 13.
What?
14.
13 just got removed.
Okay, Article 13.
Oh, you gotta change all these woman numerals.
Section 5, membership for the governance steering committee. It says in 1A, it says one member of the board of directors. Motion to amend that to the director of university affairs.
I would consider that
Um,
grammatical.
I think it could be good. Point of information from Mohina.
One is the director of university affairs outlined anywhere else in the constitution. Two, could this just be something that we just
We don't have to link.
Okay, so I'm gonna give historical context here. The governance steering committee, was
in the current
passed
constitution?
in the
is it-
current constitution, it got removed.
No, is the director of university affairs already listed in the current constitution? Because if they're named, they should be mentioned there. If that
Can I
makes
please,
sense.
Mr. Chair?
Sure.
So, we have the vice speaker is never mentioned, in the constitution besides the place where we say they're a member of the thing, so we can add these things, but that's why a lot of these things are saying like one member of the board or whatever, but we can specify and we can have it in the bylaws and we can consider this grammatical because, again, it's semantic.
Just making sure.
Okay, so it's grammatical is friendly.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that would not be grammatical. That's not grammatical at all. I'm sorry, I'm gonna,
Then motion, someone.
yeah,
do it.
someone's at the motion for that.
Motion to amend section 14, Article 14, section 5A1A to Director of University Affairs to replace one member of the board of directors.
Okay.
It says, and
So,
show.
okay, now, there's been moved, it was that's Article 14, section 5, clause, yeah, section 5, clause A, number 1, letter A, to be amended to look like the director of university affairs, who shall act as chair and shall only vote in the event of a tie. Any seconds?
Second.
Seconded by Naomi. Any objections? Any objections at all? Seeing no objections, it has been unanimously approved to general consensus. Motion.
Just to give some context, I've been sitting on the F&B committee all year as a voting member. I've been told in the past that I was a voting member, but on the constitution, it doesn't list my job as a voting member. And so I'll motion to amend Article 14, Section 3, like A, adding director programming as voting membership.
What is? Oh,
Yeah.
Article 13 says?
Article 14,
14.
Section 3, A, adding director programming to the voting membership.
Is it written anywhere else that's true?
and the bylaws, like
Um,
job description?
It's just,
It's in the bylaws. I mean,
I don't think it's in the bylaws. I thought it was in the constitution. That's what
And how have you been voting?
I don't know. I've been told I've been a voting member and I've been listed as a voting member. And it makes
Like
sense too
budget
because,
policy?
I mean, it makes sense because they also vote on the special appropriations fund and like I am the liaison to RSOs. And so like that's, I think, the precedent for why I've been a voting member on it in the past. And like, yeah, I don't know. My job really doesn't do that much either. Like,
I mean,
there's
so,
not too many committees that I sit on. That was the only one that I really sit on. And so I think it wouldn't hurt to add me as a voting member.
We already have
You
a
make
second
a
from
motion?
Alice.
I seconded. Can I
Seconded.
rescind my second?
hold on.
I just have a quick,
Well, we can't ask questions because we're in the middle of.
I don't have a question, I have a statement.
Oh, well then, that's also a
Okay.
thing.
Okay, yeah.
It's
Well,
just
you
a
seconded
suggestion.
it yourself, so you can object yourself, I guess.
Okay, I'll object to myself.
You're
We
objecting
need
to
an
now,
objection,
basically,
so
yeah, I mean,
I
yeah.
don't know.
Okay, I completely agree that the director of programming should be on the finance and budget committee and the bylaws. I think that's a good idea. I might suggest a non-voting membership, so you couldn't argue that there's a conflict of interest between being the liaison to RSOs and also approving their funding.
Mm,
I'm,
Also-
yeah,
That's also a thing.
I was actually gonna suggest the exact same thing, just again, because there could be potential conflict of interest, so.
Information?
Did we lose quorum?
Amanda's gone.
I have to
That's
go now.
6.
Yeah.
So no, 5. If Ellis leaves, then that's 5, but we need to approve it with 2/3, and if we're gonna constitute it as the voting membership, we need 6. So if Ellis then leaves, then we will not have enough votes to approve the proposal.
But you still have quorum because I'm here, but I will be yeah. I could-
then
Do we have quorum?
Okay.
Yeah, we have
Quorum for just the meeting itself.
Is 5.
Is 5.
and we'll have 5.
The
Yeah.
quorum for voting is 6 for the proposal constitution itself, so we did just lose
No, we still have 6.
Okay.
Point of information, so voting membership is 9, so you have quorum, so you have 6 voting members. However, you still need 2/3 to vote, meaning
Yeah.
that every single person here, if you're going to pass this tonight, has to vote yes.
Yeah, but we can still approve it,
Including you, Jacob, because you are.
assuming it's unanimous. So you would vote.
Unanimous.
Assuming it's unanimous.
Okay,
Otherwise it won't pass.
yes.
If I may make a suggestion, how about soft vote to see how everyone feels and if we wanna pass this or not, and then we could just see if we could just pass it out immediately
I don't
after.
think a soft vote exists. in
Wait, can we
parliamentary procedures.
finish out the motion we're in right
Oh,
now?
yeah, oh, yeah.
Or the,
We need
the
to-
amendment?
No,
Yeah, we
let's
need to
vote on
advance
the thing.
motion. Don't mess the motion. The motion was, before there was a parliamentary inquiry about quorum, we're still at quorum right now.
Yeah.
The motion is,
We're just
Yeah,
something to see.
I'm still standing by my motion to add to Article 14, Section 3, director of programming as like a voting member. That's how it's been all year. There's a conflict of interest, but it's like 1,000 RSOs. Like the idea of conflict of interest isn't really applicable because like to what? Like a certain RSO? Like it's not voting on.
conflict of interest is in the regards that you yourself are, a person that gains that monetary value or you have something to gain from that. So I'm not sure if it's a conflict of interest, but that's your position.
Like I would stand by just adding it for a voting membership. That's just where it's been all year.
Okay, sure. I rescind my objection. Let's just take it to a vote.
Vote, yeah, please go.
Okay, take it to a vote. Could you read your motion? It's just a section, please, just a section.
Section, Article 14, Section 3A, adding the director of programming as a voting member to that committee.
That was the motion, been properly moved and seconded, taking it to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands and say yay.
Yeah.
All those against, nay. All those abstaining. Motion passes 3 to 1 to 2. Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. 6. Ellis,
I motion to amend, section 3A and membership, the ASUW president or proxy to say the ASUW vice president who serves as the president's proxy to be in line with the bylaws. And I believe that this change should apply to both the F&B committee, the personnel committee, and yes.
so you want to as
So to say, the ASUW vice president who shall serve as the president's proxy, because that's what it says in my job description in the
yeah,
bylaws.
so it's a protected proxy.
Yeah, But just to delineate that in the constitution, so they agree, because right now they're not as clear.
Yeah, I just want to make it absolutely clear here, these are things that we can also do, but if it's already in the bylaws, let's keep it to that, but this is something that is kind of pertinent. It's a protected proxy, so this time, so it was a motion to add to Article 14, Section 3, letter
A1B, the ASUW,
A, and then 1, and then B to read as the ASUW vice president who serves as a president's proxy.
Yeah. Because that way it still keeps both of our rules in there in the language, and then to also include that in the personnel committee.
Okay, I think you moved president on accident.
I can't change anything right now.
Alright, so it should read as basically section, Article 14, Section 3, letter A, number 1, letter B, the ASUW president or vice president who serves as the president's proxy. And it was,
No, I said the ASUW vice president who shall serve as the president's proxy.
Well, then it would need to have the president still there though. Cause there would be no reason for a proxy if it's just your name.
No, it specifically says that the vice president serves as the president's proxy.
Right, so in this motion, you're asking to keep the president in there and then say the vice president shall serve as the president's proxy, right?
No, I'm not saying
I
that.
would also.
You're
we're on the
saying
middle of this
you
motion.
wanna completely remove the president.
No,
Is that what you're
that's,
saying?
no, I'm saying the vice president who serves as the president's proxy.
Right, but for a proxy to exist, the person needs to exist as well,
So just
the president proxy for. So if you wanna just copy the exact verbatim from the bylaws, but you put it in there, might be simpler.
so just say the ACW president or the vice president who serves as the president's
Right.
proxy.
Sure, whatever you want.
Yeah, so it should read as Article 14, Section 3, letter A, number 1, letter B. The ACW president or vice president, which will serve as a president's proxy.
You want the same thing in,
And the same thing in the personnel.
Okay, so we're
we
making
moved that.
multiple motions at all once then. Which is allowed, but we should read it out loud for the record. So this is gonna be amending Article 14, Section 3, Section 4, Section 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or no, not Section 5. Yes, Section 3 and 4. Unless you wanna add that for, okay, so it's 3 and 4 for now.
Okay, so I can do it.
Yeah.
So Article 12,
14.
no, it's because we're also adding it to the personnel branch, so. I'm
Okay,
saying-
I'm gonna rescind the second half of my motion and just keep it as the first thing, just to make it simple.
Well, okay, to simplify, we're putting multiple motions all at once so we can pass. it
No,
on.
to simplify, I'm making one singular motion and it is,
I'm gonna read it right now. Article 14, Section 3, Clause A, 1B states that the ACW president or vice president who
Mhm.
serves as the president's proxy.
yes.
That was the motion.
Mhm.
Do I hear any seconds?
Second,
But you.
I'm just reading her
Okay,
motion.
So
yes,
your
her
motion, okay, so
My
seconded
motion,
by,
he seconded, yes.
thank you. Any objections? Seeing none? Any objections at all? Any objections? All right, then it's just unanimously agreed upon in this general consensus. So Article just Article 14 for now has been amended.
Yes.
Article 14, Section 3, letter A, 1B. And yes, that's and
Last amendment motion, I swear. Article 16, appointment and open selection process. So correct me if I'm wrong, but right now the ASUW Board of Directors appoints to councils and everything, and the board themselves approve those nominations. And in the new article, those nominations would have to be approved by the student senate.
okay.
So is there a motion?
That's the question. Okay,
the-
yeah, that's the
Senate-
appointment process.
Real quick, we gotta make edits. This is my last time asking. I'm gonna have to, like, it's against our bylaws to edit anything without making the motion, so please. I'm not gonna call out names of who it is, just please, if you have to close your computer and we'll just review it all together, but please don't make any changes without any approval from the board, or at least motioning to at least put it on there. It's my last time making this announcement.
So that's what it is.
Yeah, so the appointment process is, yeah, the personnel board
Mhm.
nominates 3 people, then,
Is that new as well?
yeah.
So the board member does not nominate.
It's the board of directors or a specific person who nominates someone to the student senate out of those 3 people that is recommended from the personnel board. So how we have a normal like personnel committee or whatever, hiring committee, then we,
I agree with the personnel board nominating and then the board member picking, but I think that should be enough because personnel board like debates on it and they pick 3 people. I think it's just redundant to have it go through Senate again, since they already have a lot to do. So I motion to amend candidates, the student senate to confirm their appointment to their respective position from Article 16A.
So it's gonna,
Where's Article 16? Okay.
page 21.
Okay,
So all applicants.
the
and
motion was,
nominations.
read it again, article.
Article 16A, motion to remove the sentence, part of the sentence, one of the candidates to the student senate to confirm their appointment to their respective position. And leave it up to the board.
Yeah, I can, hold on.
Okay, it was motioned by Nandana to remove from Article 16, letter A.
They,
Okay, are we removing or just? we're not
The
moving?
board of directors are a specific person in which they appoint, and I think we put a period there.
You would say nominate.
select,
No, I don't think they should nominate to the senate, I think they should just appoint the person on branch already
they appoint.
nominates 3 people.
What information?
Yeah.
In the proposal constitution.
What information?
Right now, assuming that the proposal constitution is passed and accepted, how many positions specifically would be done through this process? If there's a concern about efficiency concerning Senate time.
It was mainly, yeah, it was mainly the two judges. The auditors?
And also like the faculty councils and everything.
No, that would have been open selection.
Yeah, so that would have to go through this as well.
No, the faculty councils are still through open selection,
Okay.
which is how we do
This
it
is
now.
Another
only
point of
for-
information, can you explain the difference between the open selection process and the appointment process and where it applies, Francisco?
Okay, so how it is now in the proposal,
Let me just stop right now. We're gonna follow the temporary rules. Every single question should be directed towards the chair. And if that's the case, we're gonna adopt those rules, we're gonna stick by them. I respect your decision to ask Francisco, and so I'll let Francisco answer, but let's, for now, and everyone here, please direct all your questions to me. I don't want people spiting anyone, I don't want people getting upset with anyone, just direct your questions to me, and I'll ask the question to the person that it pertains to, just to make things cordial.
okay, so yeah, in the way that it is currently made up in the proposal, it's the appointment process. The person on the board, as it would now, searches out, does the whole hiring process, interviews them, nominates 3 people to a specific board member or the board of directors in general. That's why it's outlined in the bylaws. And so then they choose one of these people to nominate to the Senate, and then they approve it, and then that's that. Then the open selection process is how it is now. Like they do a hiring committee, they rank them or whatever, then they interview the certain people, and then they're hired. And so that's the difference. That's bureaucracy.
So the board of directors would then approve that appointment versus the senate if we do pass my amendment.
Yes,
Okay.
that's the case.
Alice.
Are you gonna motion to amend something?
I did motion.
Oh, yeah, okay, I'm gonna.
The motion was never made, to be honest.
No, it
because
wasn't.
I just seconded
It was never properly motioned, and we don't
Yes,
know
it
exactly
was.
what the words are asking, so the second was
Do you want me to
invalid.
type in the-
I can.
So we need to know the
if you like.
exact motion
Okay.
before someone can second it, so if it could be properly motioned.
I motion to amend Article 16, Clause A to state, to the Board of Directors, a specific, all yada yada yada, to the Board of Directors or a specific board member in which they appoint one of the nominees, and that, get out of the way. The process shall be defined and outlined in the ASUW bylaws.
Okay,
Second.
seconded by Alice. Any objections?
I have to object.
Objection from Rohini. Going back to motion maker. You wanna use your time?
Yeah,
Waiting time.
The main reason I objected is specifically because, one, the reason I asked the point of information earlier is to delineate or specify that this is gonna be applying to, like, for example, wait. You're getting this mixed up. This was originally for the appointed positions, right? So it's not gonna actually be like that in the judicial branch. I guess it just.
yeah. The appointed. Yeah, it's for appointed positions, but most of the appointed positions were essentially the appointed judicial judges. And if my memory recalls, it's also the auditors which have been eliminated.
Okay,
Okay.
if any case, then I rescind my objection.
Send your objection, going back to the motion. Any other objections? Seeing none, taking it to a vote, all those in favor of amending Article 16, letter A to read as the appointment process should be the system in which the personal board nominates at least 3 students for all applicants if the number of students who applied is less than 3 to a board of directors or a specific board member in which they appoint one of the nominees. The process shall be defined and outlined in the ASUW bylaws. It is properly moved and seconded, taking it to a vote. All those in favor of approving this amendment, raise your hand and say yay.
Yay. Amanda's gone.
All those against? I guess I'm the only person left, okay, seeing it is unanimous, Article 16A has been amended to read as follows. Alice,
I motion to approve the Constitution.
Seconded.
I object.
motion to approve the entire 2024 ASUW proposal constitution by Ellis, seconded by Rohini, objection by Naomi. Going back to the motion maker, do you have time, to Naomi?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should ask beforehand if like everybody's down giving amendments. I also have questions I wanted to make on this. And again, I'll reemphasize the point too that we need all of us to vote yes for this to pass. So we should not just rush to this vote. I still have a couple questions I want to ask, and I'm not comfortable passing this right now. I know it's late, but like that was my whole concern in the first place, is that like we shouldn't just vote yes on this whole thing just because of time. I don't want to be here this late either, but I don't think we should rush this.
Going back to the motion maker.
I'll rescind my motion, but I will also state that our time was wasted by dilatory discussion at the beginning of this meeting.
So
Naomi?
what,
Francisco, go ahead.
yeah, what, okay, what else?
I mean, onto the point from the beginning, like, again, I wasn't trying to be pointless with that. It said 20 days. I think we should add into this verbiage to specify what school days are. So that doesn't happen in the future, like making that more clear in the Constitution. That was my next point, actually, is that like, that was a waste of time, and I agree with that. But I think that in itself is an issue with constitutions.
So what's the motion?
Yeah, do you have language?
I can motion to change it from school days to days of instruction. So there's clear guidelines on the UW website for what days of
Page
instruction are, but there's not for school days. So,
So do you want to motion that?
yeah, let me Roman numerals.
Article
You could add,
17.
as defined by University of Washington policy too. Would be my suggestion.
Okay, should we just define it to be based on the registrar's definition and delineate, because I mean, the UW already follows state law. So I'm assuming that we can just base it off of the UW.
There's also 3 mentions of school days, so we would have to change all of those.
Yeah, I would just change school days to days of instruction, because as per like the UW registrar.
Make sure it's specific language and dates of instruction from UW.
These,
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you define it like, for all school days, period, school days being defined as XYZ, would that solve our problem of not having to change it?
Yeah,
all
I mean,
other
we
school
can
days?
just put it down into is there a definition portion of the,
No.
There's no definition portion. Okay, then we're gonna have to individually do it, or unless we put a definition portion
have
instead.
time for that.
I feel like you could just individually amend this one thing to say that all school that like, 20 school days, period, school days being defined as XYZ, because if you have it once, then you have it for all, and so it saves us both, it solves both things. So I think I would include that in your motion.
where can we
If we-
put that?
Is there somewhere that you would like this to be placed, and what other mention of school days is there in the Constitution?
We can mention it in the first time it's mentioned and say like in parentheses as delineated, or meaning days of instruction as delineated in the student registrar.
Perfect, okay, so what section is that then?
I don't know where it's first mentioned.
I found it. It is first mentioned on page 15, an initiative or referendum vote on section 4 of Article 6, electoral branch.
11, but it's now
Oh, that's 11, my bad.
10. No, it is 11 because we now change.
Only
we deleted
only
Article
Article 13 we got removed, so that's fine. It's still Article 11, right?
Yeah.
Whatever this Roman numeral is.
Defined
Thanks.
as days of instruction is delivered by the student registrar.
Okay, so your motion,
Um,
read it aloud. So it's
I'll
on
resend my-
page,
I'll rescind my prior motion, motion to amend Article 11, Section 4C, after school days, putting in parentheses. Days of instruction.
Defined and you can spit on this on here.
Defined as days of instruction as delineated by the student
Oh,
registrar.
that's not what I meant, sorry. Defined as days of instruction as delineated by the student registrar. Second.
Student registrar. It's University of UW registrar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just go ahead.
Yeah.
Just quickly. All right, so motion to amend Article 11, Section 4, letter C, number 1 to read as all initiatives and referendums must be submitted to members of the ACW at the next regular election or at an earlier special election called by the board of directors. In no case may less than 20 days, may less than 20 school days defined as days of instruction as delineated by the UW registrar elapse between the submission of any petition, initiative, or referendum and the election. The initiated or referred measure is adopted if a majority of those voting on the measure vote in favor of it. Whereupon the measure becomes effective immediately, and it was seconded by Ellis. Any objections? So no objections to that. Any objections at all? No objections. All right, general consensus then, it's been adopted. Thank you. This is much more efficient. Let's keep it going. I like this.
Anything else?
That.
Okay, well then,
You want to rescind your motion, Ellis, about approving the
oh yeah,
constitution?
because we still had things. Oh, that was.
Oh, sure, I rescinded.
Yeah.
And I did rescind it.
Yes.
I thought I did. I definitely said I rescinded my motion. Oh, sorry, Maya. I rescinded it.
It's okay. I've been rescinded now.
Wonderful.
Okay, that's good.
Oh,
Out, Dave.
I motion to approve the
Second.
ASUW proposal constitution.
Okay, so we did need to rescind.
I know.
Okay. Real quick, Francisco, can you scan the whole document top to bottom? Just to check any kind of,
No, okay.
just any.
No, wait, I would have, hold on, there are still a couple of amendments that we gotta approve before we approve the entire
Every
thing.
single
So-
Oh,
thing, so
And,
yeah.
but this should go quickly, but so,
Who seconded it? Who motioned it?
Did one of your-
You
I rescind my
Alright,
motion.
rescinded.
okay, I'm gonna, okay, we're gonna speed through this.
Should we do finance?
Yeah, you're gonna just take your time, everyone else can just like,
No, we need to, if these like are amendments that are already
Okay,
there,
gotcha,
okay, so. The judicial committee, oh, no. Article 9, I'll just say page 10, that it says. The student senate reserves the right to expel its own membership or outline their privileges while also maintaining accountability from the other branches of ASUW.
isn't that already like that outline that the Senate proposing something?
No, there was this amendment. There was the original proposal that said no other entity of the ACW may expel a member of the student senate or restrict any right or privilege of the membership of the student senate. And if this stemmed from like accountability and stuff from the other branches and the whole checks and balances thing. So I motion to add this language.
Okay, it was motioned by Francisco to amend Article 9, Section 3, letter B, number 4, to say any member of the student senate not in compliance with the ASUW Constitution, student senate bylaws, or student senate rules may be expelled from the student senate with the concurrence of 2/3 of the present and voting membership. The student senate reserves the first right to expel its own membership or outline their privileges. Will also maintain accountability from other branches of the ASUW.
Point of information, can I direct a question to Francisco? About this
We're
amendment?
still in a motion, but I mean, if you
Was there a
want,
second?
is there a second? Seconded by Naomi. Is there any objections? Okay, if you
Okay, I'm gonna
object,
project that.
I yield my time.
The main reason I wanted to specify this is because the whole point of that clause is to make sure that only the student senate has the ability to control its own membership. This includes senators. So that's my main concern with this, because it opens up the interpretation of other branches to affect senatorship within the Senate, which I don't believe should be outlined by them. So if you want to include this, you can only, in my opinion, it should either not be changed at all, or it should specify like at most Senate leadership, and even then I have issues with that.
We're not,
Right, you
I'm
have a
just saying
response to
it leaves it open to interpretation. That's why I'm objecting.
we're not managing,
The membership is,
we're not, no, you okay, I feel that, we're not, managing the membership of the Senate, and I think since the Senate has the ability to impeach and remove officers, then other branches should also have that sense of accountability to the Senate, and so if we want that checks and balance, we should ensure that as well.
Okay, we're gonna go in order here. Naomi, Ellis, and then Rohini.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say what Francisco said, basically, I agree with that. Also like then where's the checks and balances on like Senate leadership? Is it down to like the volunteer, only 2 hours a week paid senators? Like I think, yeah.
Ellis?
Motion to close debate.
Sorry.
Second.
Seconded, okay, motion to close debate by Ellis, seconded by Naomi. It's not objectionable, all those in favor, please raise your hands and say yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, still. All those against? All those abstaining? All right, the vote is 4-0-1. Debate is closed. Going back to,
Oh, yeah, the motion.
going back to that motion. Of Article 9, Section 3, letter B. Number 4. Any member of the Student Senate non-compliant with the ASUW Constitution, Student Senate bylaws, or Student Senate rules may be expelled from the Student Senate with the concurrence of 2/3 of the present and voting membership. The Student Senate reserves the first right to expel its own membership or outline their privileges while also maintaining accountability from the other branches of the ASUW. It's already been seconded. So taking it to a vote, all those in favor of amending this to read as, please raise your hands and say yay.
Yay.
Okay. All those against? All those abstaining? All right, the vote is 4-0-2. It has been approved.
Okay, judicial branch, Article 10, Section 2, the Chief Section 2, what would this be now? F would be clause F, would say the chief judge is responsible for administrating the oath of office to all elected board directors, judges, elected officers unless they delegate such responsibility to a fellow judge.
E?
A, B,
So this should
C,
be A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll figure
All
it
right,
out.
motion by Francisco to amend Article 10, Section 2.
No, this is.
Section 2.
You just lost quorum. No, it's not.
Why aren't you formatting correctly? Why are you doing this? Be that way.
I'll just put C in the period.
Wait.
Okay, I think we getting, click number 3, click number 3, at the end of number 3, right?
No,
Like
wait,
the
I know, I
chief
have
judge.
to- There.
There you go, okay, all right. Letter E,
Yes.
to read as, the chief judge is responsible for administering the oath of office to all elected board directors, judges, elected officers, unless they delegate such responsibility to a fellow judge. And any seconds? All right, it's been properly moved by Francisco, seconded by Rohini. Any objections? Right. Any objections at all? All right, seeing no objections, it is unanimous consent. It is adopted to read as letter E. I would recommend if it is purely grammatical, to just capitalize the names of all the judges and just, that's it, just judges.
Okay,
You know, judges and judges. Yeah. Just for the future judges to have that little title respect.
Okay, so then in the same article, section 3B6 and 7, this is for the appellate, the functions or whatever. So rule on any appeals accepted from appellate liaisons. After a request for review, deem any actions by the Board of Directors, Student Senate, or ACW as unconstitutional or against the bylaws and nullify said actions from taking full effect. Effect?
Is that a motion?
Yes, to approve those.
Motion to, so you multiple ones.
No, it's-
So is it just 6 and 7?
Yeah,
Okay. Motion by Francisco to change, to amend Article 10. Section 3, letter D, 6 and 7 to read as number 6, rule on any appeals accepted from the appellate liaisons. And number 7, after a request for review, deem any actions by Board of Directors, Student Senate, or ASUW as unconstitutional or against the bylaws and nullify said actions from taking full effect. Any seconds? Any seconds?
I second it.
Seconded by Ellis. Any objections? Any objections at all? Okay, see no objections.
those are tight.
See no objections, it's been properly adopted and amended. All right. Moving on.
Point of personal privilege, I have a hard stop at 8:45 and I will be leaving.
Okay. All
Okay,
right,
so
almost
we have-
done.
we are on a time constraint of 12 minutes.
Almost done. Almost done. Almost done.
Rohini?
Grammatical change, I think effect in what we just added should be EFFECT. Like,
Effect. Effect.
Yes,
effect.
That's what I was okay.
affects us to
Where the hell did I go?
an ongoing thing, effects the final thing.
Wonderful. Okay. Going down again. Rights and responsibilities. Seems like the only other edits are to the rights and responsibilities, which is currently Article 22, but will be Article 21. These are largely grammatical things. So it's like under Section 2 of Article 21, the right to the freedom of speech and so on, then the right to the freedom of petition and so on.
Article
22,
22.
it's the last article.
Okay,
Page 25 and 5 under Section 2A5, the right to vote in any ASUW election so long as they are a member. An ASUW member is only ASUW members.
Is that a motion, Francisco?
Yes, and also Section 3, Clause B3, ensuring a campus that promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Second.
okay, so it's multiple amendments all at once. So
Yes.
it is for Article 22, Section 2, letter A, numbers 2, 3, and 5. Section 3, letter B, 3, to read as in order. In Section 2, letter A, number 2, the right to freedom of speech, assembly, and activism. Number 3, the right to freedom of petition and appeal. Number 5, the right to vote in any elections so long, usually as long.
Yeah.
So as long as they are an ASUW member. And Section 3 to read as Section 3, letter B, number 3, ensuring a campus that promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion. All right, and it has been seconded by Ellis. All right. This is multiple motions all at once, so if you need any clarification at any points, please raise them now. All right, say any objections at all? Any objections to any of these motions at all? Barring none, then it's been unanimously consented to make changes to Article 22, Section 2 and 3.
We do one last one.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So Francisco, so in like the for judicial committee, just to clarify, they can't rule on the removal of officers, they can only rule on the suspension, like temporarily. Cause I remember in the slideshow you showed Senate, you said quote removal, but in here it says suspension. What's like the correct one?
We
Yeah,
can,
that's page 12.
okay. Page 12.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 12. Where specifically? Like C, B,
Page
D,
12, at the end of D,
Okay.
section D. Not
after
section,
request for,
section 3D, 8.
It's highlighted on the board.
Yeah.
What page is that?
oh, 8, okay.
Oh.
Rule on the length of community service or suspension of office for any.
Yeah.
What page is this?
I feel like,
13.
yeah, 13, top of page 13. So,
Yours was removed.
yeah, I guess suspension. That can just be like, they're like suspended from office for a time, but they're not removed from office. But sorry if I mischaracterized it as that.
Okay, so it's temporary, they don't make that final
We-
decision on the removal of officers, clarified?
We can define that as so, like, to, temporary, like, or temporary suspension of an officer. So we can motion that, cause I feel like that's not bad.
Isn't this
Where's
already
this? Where is
defined?
that? Wait, where's this? What section is this?
Section 3,
Section
It's
3
12,
and
top of page 12.
it's highlighted on the
top of
board.
page 12. Okay.
No, it's not the top of page 12, it's at
Well,
the
for me,
bottom.
it's at the top of page 12.
Okay, well,
Where-
maybe
Or
it's not.
13,
Where is
whatever,
it?
okay.
13, top of page 13 is to say, just read the article number. That section.
It's article 10,
Article 10,
section
3B8.
B8.
D8. Okay, rule on length of community service or suspension of office for any ASUW officer deemed in violation of the ASUW Constitution. Okay,
Wait, he has something.
and
I
Rohini,
do want to highlight, there's already an article at the very end called impeachment and removal. The language for removal is already separated from suspension. That is language that's already been defined, and because it is a different word from removal, it's not necessarily need to be defined right there. It'd be okay.
All I'm clarifying is that this is
Information.
incorrect, right?
Yeah, we
That's
can,
correct.
because we do have our impeachment process
Yes.
and
Is there
everything else, but
point of information from us?
No.
Oh, okay.
I motion to add to section 10. Section 10,
Article 10.
section 4, article 10, section 3, thank you. Clause D8, rule on the length of community service or temporary suspension of an office for any ASUW officer deemed in violation of the ASUW Constitution.
You want to add temporary?
Yes,
Okay.
Second.
So, motion by Francisco to add to Article 10, Section 3, letter D. Number 8, rule on length of community service or temporary suspension of office for any ASUW officer deemed in violation of the ASUW Constitution. Oh,
everything's fine.
okay. It's been seconded by Naomi. All right, any objections? Any objections at all? All right, unanimous consent has been applied. All right, moving on. Motion.
Hearing no other comments or questions, I motion to
Let's
approve.
go-
Yeah, I need to change the article numbers because we removed one, so it's just like one less.
You have 5 minutes.
Wonderful, yes.
So,
Yeah, Brandon.
Francisco, you can just motion to make, just do like a blanket article number change, which is conceived as like you can just say to the appropriate due to the removal of an article, and then it just changes all the article numbers. It's just a suggestion.
Okay.
I need to find which article, so.
Hold on, just a second. Is that favorable to you?
So yeah, okay, I motion due to Article 13 being removed, that all subsequent articles be moved down one number.
here's a motion.
Let's go back.
Yeah,
Second.
we do. I mean, it wouldn't be grammatical, it's a huge change that just got removed. So motion by Francisco to basically move up every single article up one after
13.
after 13.
It was
So,
seconded.
it was seconded by who?
Rainey.
Rohini. Any objections? Any objections at all? No objections? Seeing no objections, then we have been unanimously amended it and it's consented. All right. Rohini and then Francisco.
Is there any other last minute adjustments you need?
I think
Just grammaticals, anything that's popping up. I mean, I'm just.
yeah, I think we have like 3 minutes or 2. We'll still have quorum after.
So I'm hearing that as a no then.
We'll do it, yeah. For now, this just everyone look through it, refresh your pages, make sure that all the edits are still there. Look through it real quick. Take your time, but not too much time. Yes.
Do we ever have an issue in which a dog and proxy?
Yeah, we never codified that into language. So, basically, the Constitution says that. So the bylaws say that the board of directors can proxy or vote to other board of directors, which is inconsistent with the Constitution, because board of directors cannot proxy or vote at all. So, do we want to keep that same language similar to ex officio? Then, do we want to? Because I mean, technically, since they can't vote, what exactly are they proxying? Cause I know I'm
The voice,
Brendan might have insight.
right.
If you wanna refer to Sturgis, it strongly disencourages that. It specifically says directors or board of director members cannot delineate their vote.
Right.
In Sturgis, it specifically states that.
Yeah.
But proxies in terms of other instances are clearly defined.
Yeah. So, I
if
mean-
you wanna refer to a guideline.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, it's like, Brenda said, parliamentary procedure strongly discourages, proxying, and our constitution says we cannot proxy, and we don't know exactly what would be proxying if the next non-official, ex officio is proxying, what they would be proxying in an actual thing, so we wanna codify that into language that no one from the board of directors can proxy at all. I think
it's
that- I
all,
think I think it's fair.
it's dependent on voting,
Right, and if they can't vote, what exactly are they proxying?
their voice.
Right, it's not, because if I was a proxy to Maya, then would she become the chair?
No, what?
It's not defined.
The thing is, like, it says that anyone can proxy to any board of directors, but
No
it's not
voting
board of
member.
the, yeah.
We don't wrap this discussion up, guys.
It's-
Okay, you know what?
Codify, just say real quick.
Where? Like language, I put it somewhere, like,
Okay. I'm gonna be blunt, is this something
it's,
that
it,
It
I
is.
feel like we don't have the data, especially with Ellis leaving, would rather just get the proposal constitution out.
saying that, yeah, and this hasn't been a problem, and it's all up. We can define it in the bylaws.
Bylaws.
Okay, I motion to approve the proposal constitution.
Motion to approve the proposed constitution, it was seconded by Ellis. Any objections? Any objections at all? I'm not gonna, you guys can't set this one.
Yeah.
Take it into a vote. All right, this one I'm gonna ask for a parliamentary divide. I'm gonna ask by roll call. Ellis.
Yes.
And make sure everyone's name is deleted too. Ellis says yes. Thomas is not here, but
Can't even
Melody
vote.
has not votes, yeah. Francisco,
Yes.
Leah,
Yes.
Nandana,
Yes.
Naomi,
Yes.
and that leaves myself. It's unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, since
What about the board bill? We have to vote on that. or
now the
that
board bill.
Yeah,
Okay,
Point
We
of
don't-
information, if I leave, your Zoom meeting also goes offline.
yes.
So is
yeah.
anyone,
So no, we're gonna real quick, we have to pass the actual bill
I
itself.
motion to approve board bills 1.03.
Alright, motion to pass board bill 1.03 by Francisco, seconded by Naomi. Any objections at all? No objections?
Yeah,
It's just grammatical stuff, but.
Oh,
no, that is, there's a bunch of typos. That's a typo. I love my typos, I'm
real quick, we
amazing.
gotta,
I'm going, Mr. Chair, I'm going, Mr. Chair, God. You know how much I've done already?
yeah,
Constitutional, like, how do I miss, I love, this is what happens, okay,
Everything's fine. Okay. All right, well, it was properly motioned by Francisco, seconded by Naomi. Any objections? Any objections at all? Taking it to a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hands and say yay.
Yay.
Keep them high. Seeing it is unanimous, it has been approved.
Motion to.
All right. Motion to adjourn by Leah, seconded by Ellis. Non-objectionable. All those in favor, please raise your hands and say yay.
Yay.